everybody. Today we are debating flat Earth versus globe Earth, and we're starting right now. Ladies and gentlemen, thrilled to have you here for this epic debate. This is going to be a fun one, folks. Believe me. Really excited. Want to let you know if it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button as we have a lot more debates coming up. We are very excited that this Monday, if you have never seen Jesse Lee Peterson or Professor Dave Explains, both of them together, the internet might explode. It's going to be fun, folks. And also want to let you know, though, for the gentleman that we have here tonight, this is going to be a lot of fun. These are seasoned debaters. They got a lot of energy, and I want to let you know both of their links I've put in the description for you. So that way, if you're listening and you're like, I like that, I want more, you can hear more by clicking on their links in the description box. And also want to let you know, for our format, it's going to be fairly flexible. We'll have 10 minutes, flexible opening statement from each side, followed by open conversation and Q&A. For Q&A, if you have a question, fire it into the old live chat. And if you type in at Modern Day Debate with your question, it'll make it easier for me to get every question in that list. Super chat is also an option, in which case you would be able to make a comment toward one of the speakers that they would, of course, get the chance to respond to. We ask that you be your usual friendly selves for that. And it would also give you basically it will push your comment or question during the Q&A up to the top of the list during the Q&A. So with that, we are going to get started. Flat Earth Aussie is going to be giving his 10-minute opening statement, and want to say thanks so much, both Flat Earth Aussie and Team Skeptic, for being with us. This is going to be a lot of fun. We really appreciate you being here.
Cheers, James. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure.
Absolutely. And so with that, Flat Earth Aussie, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you, James, for the opportunity to spread awareness and truth on your awesome forum. I do appreciate it that occasionally you're able to find someone willing to take me on my particular favourite topic. I hope good health has returned to Team Skeptic, and that those who create hate sites against my good name have come to their senses and realise that it would be far better to expose me openly and in public if they genuinely believe there's something about me worth exposing, as opposed to trying to stab me in the back and silence me with deception. A certain Mike Cartoon has been busy doing just that after opting out of an agreed discussion, and has been doing his damnedest to prevent me from making public appearances since, for reasons best known to him. My attitude is quite the opposite, Mike Cartoon. If I wanted to discredit you, I would do so in an open debate, which you seem to be running like a little girl from every chance you get. No offence to little girls intended. So it gives me great pleasure to finally have a discussion with my old mate, Team Skeptic. I at first assumed he was a flat earther with a name like that, but it turns out he's in fact Team Mainstream Bootlicker and hasn't got a skeptical bone in his frail body. We will witness him attempting to strawman me at every attempt. He will provide zero proof for his heliocentric belief, apart from a declaration that higher authorities have known it for thousands of years, from back when science was looking down wells, measuring shadows of sticks, and estimating long distances between cities by a number of days camel caravans took along winding desert and mountainous roads to reach a destination. This is undoubtedly going to the highest of the advanced sciences he will invoke for his case. But should he attempt to move into the modern era, I'll gladly meet him at every challenge, since this is actually my personal area of expertise, and there's not a single claim I won't back away from. In support of my own evidence, I offer the heliocentric model itself and all its ludicrous claims as the best evidence that Earth must be flat and stationary. They claim the ground beneath our feet is moving 1.35 times the speed of sound, yet no flying vehicle, bird or insect, no floating feather, wafting balloon, cannonball projectile, nothing in any observable physical sciences has ever detected this absolutely ridiculous claim. But I'm least concerned with that and far more concerned with what they refer to as the annual orbital rate of motion. It clocks in as a highly suspicious 66,600 miles per hour. Suspicious in so much as they also claim the tilt of the Earth from 90 degrees is 23.4 degrees, leaving us also with this highly dubious figure of 66.6 degrees. But let us not concern ourselves with mere numbers, which may be either paranoia, deliberate design, or mere coincidence. Let's concern ourselves with the physical facts. this rate of claimed motion to move just 1 day, slightly under 1 degree around the sun, comes to 1.6 million miles of almost linear distance. This is the problem I need all you true believers to try and wrap your head around. Though I know most of you struggle with just the actual rotation alone, let alone orbital speed, but combine them we must to expose the web of lies you all believe in and defend so vehemently. And so expose them, I will. The numbers become so staggeringly huge that the Globe Defender will actually accuse me of having no ability to comprehend them. Therefore, my argument comes from incredulity. However, the exact opposite is the case. Yes, we all struggle with comprehending 93 million miles. That's how the Great Deception works. So let's scale it down into a model even the most indoctrinated globehead might be able to comprehend. Let's take a small plate and put it on a larger plate filled with just enough water that the smaller plate can spin on the larger plate, nice and slowly. Let's say it takes an hour for the smaller plate to rotate once. We place a small pea on the edge of the smaller plate, then put both together onto the edge of a very large Lazy Susan on a big outdoor table. In the center of the Lazy Susan is placed a bright lamp that lights in all directions, but the nature of the two plates is that only the half facing towards the center, the lamp, is illuminated at any one time, so that the moment the pea reaches any edge further than the half facing the center will be in darkness. We'll call the darkness night and the light bit day. Now, since one total rotation is 1 hour, the day part is half an hour, the night part half an hour. Nice, simple numbers. Now we start to spin the Lazy Susan in such a manner that it takes 360 hours for the entire plate to return back to where it started. I'll round it down because 365.25 rotations just gets messy. I'm trying hard to make it simple. You're going to be faced with multiple problems with this experiment, but I'll try to keep them as simple as possible because poor old team won't know what hit him. And there were dozens of other things I'd rather go through, but we are reduced to just one at a time since 10 minutes is barely scratching the surface. The main one I wish to elaborate upon, since it's the hardest to grasp, is the motion of the pea itself. It represents any place on Earth, like the one you are on. Just for the sake of this discussion, you are the pea. So as the Lazy Susan slowly revolves around the lamp and the pea slowly revolves with its smaller plate, it may be constantly going clockwise around the lamp, but due to the spin of the smaller plate, sometimes it seems to be going backwards relative to the lamp, and as soon as it enters night, it is going forwards again. This is what experience teaches me most people have the hardest time grasping, hence why I've simplified it as much as possible. The overall speed of the pea is never constant, only its spin upon the larger plate, but since the larger plate is spinning in a larger circle, we could technically draw two circles to represent the path of the pea. The inner circle is closest to the lamp, the outer circle furthest from it, the outer reaches of both plates on the outer rim of the Lazy Susan. Both circles are a constant, and the average speed of the pea would be the two places where it appears to rise and set relative to the light from the lamp. However, the rising point has the most acceleration because it's going two forward speeds together, whereas the setting point is going maximum backward speed compared to the normal orbital or Lazy Susan speed. It's not a negative speed by any means, especially not if your Lazy Susan has an edge 93 million miles from the lamp and the small dish has a radius of 4,000 miles from the center. But I'm sorry, such large numbers only appear to fantastic notions, only apply to fantastic notions, not something we can comprehend in reality. If we were to apply the heliocentric speeds to such an experiment, what we'd find is that the pea would in fact be traveling every day a maximum speed amounting to something easier to understand in terms of Mach speed, despite sound having nothing to do with it. It's just easier to break it down since we know the speed of sound is a massive 767 miles per hour, and the speed of the pea is moving 1,040 miles per hour, and the Lazy Susan is spinning at 66,600 miles per hour. We can just say the pea is moving 1.35 Mach. The Lazy Susan is a constant rate of Mach 86. So add the pea to the orbit and top speed becomes some Mach 88, and the least speed, kind of going backwards and forwards at the same time, becomes about Mach 84. A total daily difference of about Mach 4, a speed at which even the most highly trained fighter pilots will pass out at, but newborn babies just take in their stride, slumber. Time permitting, I'll quickly throw one last nail in the globe coffin and say that the pea on the plate never changes speed going around the lamp, so that every time it takes just 1 hour to make one rotation, it is slowly losing alignment with the lamp in such a fashion that after 180 spins, it would actually still be facing the same way it was 180 spins ago, which was directly towards the lamp. However, now it is directly away from the lamp. In real terms, that is the equivalent of not taking 4 minutes, about 1 degree, off of every single rotation of the clock hand that the P represents. A clock is a fixed measurement of time. It does not add or subtract anything to its fixed measurement, meaning one rotation is one rotation. I know my opponent will attempt to obscure this fact of motion and time by invoking the sidereal day, which is merely a measurement of the stars in relation to the sun, and not at all the relationship of the Earth to the sun. There can only be one explanation for this which actually makes sense. The sun is the hour hand going above the fixed plate and shines directly above the P at the same time every day, representing 12 midday. For the P to be the measured unit of time, it would need a daily adjustment, and our clocks are all the proof we need to know that never happens. Should my opponent be incapable of grasping this simple debunking of his insane view of the reality upon which we live, I'm more than happy to discuss more simple matters, such as perspective and convergence, my other area I feel strongly as my areas of expertise, or even gravity, or density and buoyancy as may be better described as. All three of these topics are of great interest to me, and I could probably discuss any of them for well over an hour with anyone capable of actually holding rational debate, a thing I'm sadly afraid my old mate Team Skeptic here is not capable of.
Thanks so much, Flat Earth Aussie, for that opening statement. We will now kick it over to Team Skeptic. So thanks so much. And want to let you know out there, folks, we are pretty lackadaisical in the old live chat. So we've always had one rule, which is obviously no hate speech. And we've also been, you have to be really, really bad in terms of if you're just constantly harassing somebody, we'll at least give you a warning first. And so far, I haven't seen anybody doing it. It's very, very rare. We'll give you a warning in case that's the case and just say, hey, try to keep it somewhat positive here. It's okay to rough and tumble, kind of tussle and debate, but we at the same time don't want it to go too far. So with that, very excited to have Team Skeptic present. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, James, for having me on tonight. This is actually one of my first appearances since being sick and getting back into the swing of things. So this is a good opportunity for me to get back in and get into doing everything. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, for coming on tonight. I know we had this planned out before and it didn't work out, but tonight should be a good evening. So I'll get right into my evidence. All right, so I'd first like to start out by saying that that the evidence that I present tonight, I'm going to try to present observable evidence that anybody can do for themselves. And the second evidence, the things that people can't do for themselves, I'm going to provide organic or natural examples of my evidence. I guess we'll start with that first. We're going to go with the ciliate luxotus, which has the ability to detect the downward force of gravity. So give me 1 second to share my screen real quick. Okay, so this is ciliate luxotus right here. Let me go ahead and play this. This is not actually...
Imagine, though, if the contractile vacuole was not working. Job, little vacuole. Ciliate luxotus is a common resident of different aquatic habitats, but they prefer a distinct zone in the water, a Goldilocks zone for oxygen. They like the concentration to be not too high and not too low. And in the body of water, unless something weird is going on, the oxygen concentration is higher at the top and lower toward the bottom. Because of its specific oxygen concentration preference, Luxotus needs to know which way is up and which way is down so it can find just the right spot. But how could a single-celled organism know up from down? Well, Luxotus can sense gravity. It has organelles called molar vesicles that each contain a spherical mineral granule, the molar body, attached to a hair-like cilium. Sorry these friends zip around so quick, it can be hard to get a good look.
Okay, essentially, a ciliate luxotus has an organic accelerometer inside of it. Yes, it's different than what we would consider as humans' accelerometers, because we immediately see an accelerometer and we say it tells it. Every accelerometer we are familiar with gives us a value that we can detect or that we can read and tell us what the local acceleration values are. However, or the original accelerometers, or anybody can really build an accelerometer at home simply by taking a button, tying it to a piece of thread, getting a protractor and making a half circle on a piece of paper and hanging it from the top in the middle. When the button hangs straight down, that means you're under only one influence, and that would be the influence of gravity, the acceleration down. When you begin accelerating in any direction, the two directions that the measurement will read, forward and backwards, you'll notice that the button will swing back when you start walking forward, and then as you maintain constant speed, whether it be still or at a higher rate, that button will lay straight down. And then if you start walking backwards at any point or slow down the rate at which you're moving, you will notice that the button will swing forward. These are natural accelerometers that any child can build and test acceleration with. Well, Ciliate Luxotis has one built in. This is organic. This is not man-made. There's no way that anybody can say that this is pre-programmed into this single-cell biology or single-cell organism. So there is no explanation for this. That we're talking about single-cell sizes here, where there's no different density within the molar bodies, and within that area, there's no different densities inside of the area where the granule is contained. It's just a fluid, a granule, and the hair-like filament that holds the granule up. When it needs more oxygen, it detects if it needs more oxygen, then it knows to swim away from the pull of gravity. And when it is in an environment that has too much oxygen, it then knows to swim towards the pull of gravity. Now, it can be on its side. It does not have to be straight up. It can be on its side because it has that accelerometer in it that tells it which direction things are being accelerated in. That right there goes to show you that gravity, or at least some accelerating force, does exist on the planet. Now, I don't know that Flat Earth Aussie Jesus has any explanation for this, but I would be completely interested in hearing it, as there's really no other explanation other than gravity to explain that. My second point of contention, or my second piece of evidence, would be evidence of rotation. We see, I want to bring up the equatorial traversal of the sun during the equinox. This goes to show you, this one observation that anybody can make on Earth goes to show you that, number one, the sun is not close to the Earth, and number two, that it's much, much larger than the Earth. Now, as the Earth rotates, it rotates what we see from the surface of the Earth underneath the sun, or the sun really, it appears that it goes over our heads. If you're standing on the equator at the equinox, as the Earth rotates, the subsolar point follows a straight line to an observer standing on the equator, meaning that it rises due east, goes over your head directly, makes a straight line, goes over someone's head at the equator at solar noon. Solar noon is when the subsolar point is directly above the observer, and then will continue along its straight line until it gets to the sunset, which is due west. So it never makes any kind of curved line. It's simply a straight line from sun up to sundown. It occurs twice a year on each equinox, and it is a result of our cosmology, the geometry of our cosmology. It also is a result of the Earth spinning underneath the sun as it rotates around the sun during its orbit. That would be my second argument. There's no way to explain the straight line of the sun that it makes over the equator on the equinox. Any flat Earth map that's out there that makes any effort at explaining sunrises and sunsets always has the sun making a circular path that centers around the North Pole. This would mean that the sun would rise approximately 45 degrees north of due east and set 45 degrees north of due west on the equinox, and it doesn't do that. It simply follows, the subsolar point follows the equator all the way around the Earth, and then it begins its trip either to the northern hemisphere for summer in the northern hemisphere, or to the southern hemisphere for summer in the southern hemisphere. These have been not just documented, but they've been recognized and studied by ancient civilizations that relied on knowing when the equinoxes were so that they could anticipate good weather, bad weather, know when to plant. They built monuments around it, and, you know, Angkor Wat, I think Stonehenge was built around the equinox. Machu Picchu was built around the equinox. These are worldwide monuments, megaliths, that are, you know, that are put on Earth before man started lying about the shape of the Earth. They already knew. Whether they took the time to take from that knowledge what the shape of the Earth was or not, they understood that on these days the sun rose, set, and made the paths it did, and it was a significant. It represented something significant to the world, to the civilization of that portion of the world. Let's see. The third piece of evidence, I will say, curvature. We'll use it with curvature. Sigma Octantis and let's see, Polaris. Sigma Octantis and Polaris are both points of rotation, or Sigma Octantis is really close. Same with Polaris. While it is really close, and while it appears to us to be a point in the sky that doesn't move, if you look at star trail videos or anything that's, you know, shot with a good camera, you will actually see that, you know, the North Star does actually rotate around the center point as well. The North Star, Polaris, and Sigma Octantis are both observations that anybody can make, especially my friend here, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, who just so happens to live in the southern hemisphere. While I don't have that option, I'm forced to only be able to use the North Star as navigation. He, however, can go out every night, look due south, and see that Sigma Octantis will always be there for him. Now, anybody in South Africa, South America, New Zealand, Antarctica, they're all going to see this same star, this same point of rotation due south. Okay, there's no way to explain that except for on a three-dimensional globe Earth. All right, those are just points of rotation. Now we can talk about where the point of rotation lies to the observer on the Earth. An observer at the North Pole will see the North Star directly overhead. Now, as he moves each degree towards the equator, he will also see that the North Star will drop by 1 degree until he reaches the equator, where the North Star is on one horizon and the South Star, the Sigma Octantis, the southern rotation point, is on the other horizon. And as he moves south, heading towards the South Pole, he will then notice that the point of rotation will rise 1 degree with each mile that he goes down, or each degree that he goes. I might have said mile in the first. It's approximately 69 miles. So for every 69 miles, for every 1 degree he would go on the surface of the Earth, the star would drop 1 degree going towards the southern, or towards the equator. And then as you left the equator heading towards the South Pole, for every 69 degrees or 69 miles or 1 degree on the surface, the Sigma Octantis would then rise 1 degree off of the horizon. This right,
30 seconds or so.
Okay, this right here is evidence that the shape of the Earth is a spherical, globular shape that's almost a perfect sphere when looked at in its entirety. That's it.
You got it. Thank you so much. And we are very excited, folks, to jump into the open conversation. So this should be very exciting. We're glad that you're all here. And with that, the floor is yours, gentlemen.
All right.
Well, I'm quite amazed, Team Skeptic, that you're bringing up evidence of bacteria to talk about the shape of the Earth. Could you explain where the hell you were going with that in the first place, mate?
Yeah. The whole point of that presentation was to show you that this single-celled organism relies on the existence of gravity to know where its Goldilocks zone is, its optimal zone in water is. Because
density and buoyancy wouldn't do exactly the same thing. You know,
no.
It's more dense below and less dense above. And where
it's a single. It's above. Yeah, but it's a single cell organism, so that means there's only one cell between the water on top of it and the water below it.
No, it doesn't. There's still multiple cells of water above it and multiple cells below it. Just because it's one cell doesn't mean the water.
No, I said there's one cell between the water above it and the water below it. The only thing between that, the water above the ciliate Loxodus and the water below the ciliate Loxodus, is a single cellular organism, the ciliate Loxodus. So,
right, but that cell is made of multiple things, though, correct?
Yeah, but let's say the cell is oriented in an upward fashion, and then let's take it when it's oriented in the horizontal fashion, like a vertical versus horizontal. It still knows which way down is without needing to change its biology.
Just like everything else that we observe in the nature of reality, with or without this imaginary force of gravity pulling everything towards the center of your
you can discount
baseball.
Yeah, you can discount gravity if you'd like, but you have to come up with an explanation for what it is without just saying density and buoyancy. Now that doesn't because I can show you where density and buoyancy falls apart.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, give me 1 second.
That's 5 seconds.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on now. I got to pull it. I do normally have all this stuff saved. I had to reboot my computer and reformat everything, so it might take me a second to pull up some of my evidence.
Off the top of your head, how density and buoyancy falls apart is the explanation for the nature.
Yeah.
Of
So
physical that we observe.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I already have the video pulled up. Give me 1 second to share that. All right, now I'm going to ask you a question, Flat Earth Aussie. Why do bubbles rise in water? Would you agree that it's density and buoyancy?
Absolutely, yeah. Air is less
okay,
dense
great.
than water.
That's all I needed to hear. 1 second, let me get it set up. I don't know if my screen's still showing or if I got to go Give me 1 second to get it. Okay, yeah, my screen should still be showing. Are you seeing this, Aussie? I'm just gonna call you Aussie. It's Aussie, you know what I'm saying? I gotta give you guys that respect. I love my Aussie subscribers. So okay, so here you go. If it was just buoyancy and density, when you drop the bottle here, okay, the density of everything does not change. Would you agree that the density of the water when the bottle is dropped is still the density of the water, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And the same goes with the bubbles. I mean, everything within the bottle is still the same density it was before it was dropped, and it's the same density as while it's being dropped and after it's being dropped.
But an object in motion is not the same thing as an object at rest, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, yeah, because, all right, so in the buoyancy equation, there is a variable for acceleration, which is gravity, okay? Because you can also say that when a density tower is sitting there and it's not moving, it's not accelerating, right? You'll agree with that.
Right.
It's okay. It's not accelerating. Okay, great. So because it's not accelerating in the buoyancy equation, that number, should gravity not exist, would be 0. And that would mean that there would be no buoyancy. Okay, there would be no such thing. And do you have a better buoyancy equation?
Density and buoyancy, mate. One thing is more dense than the other. So when you combine the two, the more dense one has more resistance than the less one, so it displaces the less dense one.
Okay, so I'm going to play my
where it's resisted by something more dense than it. That's how density and buoyancy combine together.
Right. So right now, what you're trying to do is you're taking the buoyancy equation minus part of the buoyancy equation and still saying that you're going to use the buoyancy equation.
I don't need an equation. I just use.
You just said buoyancy and density. Okay, density is mass divided by volume. You would agree with that, correct?
No, it's actually mass times volume.
Density is mass divided by volume, not mass times volume.
No,
okay, let me ask you a question.
I think density is the mass according to how much volume it takes up. So I don't see where
mass divided by volume. Right, mass divided by volume.
Why would you divide it? It is the volume that it takes.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, let's say that we're just going to give the volume number. We're just going to give the volume 2 different volumes. Okay, you have one that has a volume of 1. Okay, 1 units cubed, and then you have another that has a volume of 10 units cubed. Okay, now you have an amount of gas that weighs 10 units of mass. Okay. If you have 10 units of mass in 1 unit of volume, is it going to be more dense or less dense than 10 units of mass in 10 units of volume?
So if you've compressed it, is that what you're trying to say? Of course it's going to
yeah, you're right. You compressed it, right? So 10 divided by 1 is bigger than 10 divided by 10, correct?
I'm not sure where you're going with this. Like,
because density is mass divided by volume. Because density is mass divided by volume. I'm trying to help you out here.
Trying to tell me. I don't see how it's divided by volume.
I just explained it to you. What's bigger? Okay. What's bigger? 10 divided by 1 or 10 divided by 10? Come on, if you're ready to change the world into knowing that the earth is flat, you should be able to tell me which is bigger, 10 divided by 1 or 10 divided by 10.
Of compressed gases, mate, is talking about the shape.
Because you're trying to rewrite the buoyant force equation.
I'm not trying to rewrite nothing, mate. I'm telling you the observable nature of reality is the observable nature of reality.
Okay, so let me play my video then.
What the hell are you talking about?
Because I'm trying to explain to you where you're completely wrong. Okay, first off, density is
I've said nothing.
Density is mass divided by volume. I'm not trying to prove you wrong here. You should just go with me on this because I'm right. Okay.
Okay, then. Density is mass divided by the amount of space. Because 10 divided by 1, which would equal 10, is bigger than 10 divided by 10, which equals, or 10 divided by 1, which equals 10, is bigger than 10 divided by 10, which equals 1. Is that correct? Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Okay, so so the density would get bigger as the volume got smaller. That's what we're trying to say. You're compressing the total of volume into something smaller. The density would get bigger as the volume decreased. All right?
But you're not going to compress anything without a container, are you?
Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. Back to what I was saying though, because in your situation right here, you would, when this bottle is dropped, according to you, if you had to make a prediction, your prediction would be that those bubbles would continue to rise because they're less dense than the water. Yes or no?
No, something in motion is different because the resistant force comes from what's beneath it or containing it.
What do you mean by that?
The bottom surface is the dense part. That's where everything goes to, according to the natural laws of physics.
Okay, so why then? Okay,
of resistance. When it loses
that's fine.
Resistance,
that's fine.
Loses the resistance, mate.
But
the air is going to be doing something different because it's no longer being resisted by the.
Okay. It's so for those out there that are trying to hear the right answer, let me give it to you. You've got a force 9.8 meters per second squared, an acceleration, gravity pulling down. When you drop that, okay, you're right. I said it's an acceleration. It's an acceleration, gravity. It's an acceleration. It's a measurement of things that accelerate. Everything accelerates at that number. You'd have to explain why. You'd have to say, this is the reason why it is specifically 9.8 meters per second squared. That's what you would have to be able. We can explain that. You guys can't. Y'all fail. We win. Okay, you can't disprove. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Should what all the scientists have already proven to be right is right, which it is. So we'll go ahead and explain it as if it is. The gravity, the acceleration the gravity causes the bottle, the water, the air in the bottle, and the straw all to accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, when it does that, you get a opposite force, and everybody's felt this. When you're in your car and you accelerate, you feel a force pulling you backwards. It's a fictitious force. There's really nothing there pulling you back. It's simply the consequence of you accelerating, but it's a force and it needs to be dealt with. So when this bottle is dropped, you have the 9.8 meters per second squared force pulling down, as well as you have the 9.8 meters per second squared fictitious force pulling back up, due to the bottle and the water and the bubbles inside the bottle all accelerating down. Okay. Those two forces combined together, I'm going to let you answer. I'll let you answer. Those two forces combined together, 9.8 in one direction, 9.8 in the other direction, they cancel each other out and you get zero. When you apply zero to the buoyant force equation, the force that you get for buoyancy equals zero. So my prediction would be that those bubbles inside of that water during free fall will not rise to the top. And here's the proof.
Resistance, so a lot closer to 0G. Let's see what happens. Okay, water bottle drop without a box. 3, 2, 1, drop. So you can see at the bottom of the bottle, the air bubbles in the water just completely stop and just stand still. And another thing to notice that before I drop it, the bubbles are all squished because the pressure on the bottom is greater than the pressure on top, so it squishes the bubbles. But when I drop it, since there's about equal pressure on all sides of the bubble, it's almost round. So this test is really cool because...
All right. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Aussie, and let you try to explain that observation.
Yeah, it's quite simple, isn't it? Because there's no resistance when something is in free fall motion. The moment you take away the resistant force, which is the ground beneath you, then everything is going to be in free fall motion at the exact same rate because they're all in the same medium, which is, generally speaking, air. I think we can easily prove the fact that it's not gravity causing things to drop by the simple fact we can drop a steel ball and a tennis ball off the side of a bridge and they will hit the water at exactly the same rate because they're falling through exactly the same medium, the density of air. And since most of our experiments are done in the medium of air, since that's the one we generally live in, it appears that all things of any mass will drop at that exact same rate. The moment they hit that water, however, the density becomes different and the lead ball is going to keep going down while the tennis ball is going to start to float. So pretty much where's the gravity now acting on the tennis ball exactly the same amount that it was acting on the lead ball a second ago. Now all of a sudden it's not doing anything whatsoever. It's allowing density and buoyancy to prove that that is why things move through the medium that they're in because of their own individual mass per volume.
So if I put a lead ball on top of a wooden table, is it going to just fall right through because it's more dense than the wood beneath it?
Of course it's not because it has
well then your argument is invalid. Your argument is invalid.
Density to give it resistance. Buoyancy is resistant force. The table has enough resistant force to give it buoyancy.
Let me ask a question. Let me ask you a question. No, let me ask you a question. I'm just telling you what you just said. You said that they're both going to meet it until they reach something that's as dense as them. Did you not say that when you were talking about?
Sufficient resistance.
So now it's sufficient energy, right? Now it's all the sufficient stuff that you're just going to need to explain away the inconsistencies in the original portion of the argument.
You put a parachute on the ball, that's going to be sufficient resistance to slow it down as well.
No, that's air resistance. You're right.
I want to ask really quick. This is just because, so sorry to interrupt, fellas. Just because our producer is having a challenge with getting your audio balanced. I think this is about as high as we can get it from Flat Earth Aussie. And so in order for a producer to crank it up, are you able to, Team Skeptic, is there any way you can turn the gain down on your mic a bit? It's not high. It's just that
Let me
Flat Earth
get
Aussie
to that. I can do that real easily.
His microphone from the 20s. Okay, there we go.
Do me a favor. Hold on. Listen, Aussie, do me a favor before we go any further. Go ahead and do a mic check with him. Whoever the producer is, level his mic out to where you need him, and then I can easily turn mine down. So get him set first, and then we'll do mine, and then we'll continue on.
Deal. Okay, Praise, you there? He's gone. Okay. Okay. Can you let me know where the audio for desktop audio is set right now? Okay. Is it as far as it can go to the right? Let's bring it up further just for Flat Earth Aussie, and then we'll kind of adjust from there. Deal. Thanks, producer. Excellent.
All right, now to get me leveled out, I turned mine down to negative 12 dB. Am I okay?
I think we're balanced. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so again, your arguments don't have very much merit. Let's talk about a car.
Hold on. You're telling me.
I know. Everything you just said makes no sense. All this density, buoyancy crap.
It makes absolute sense.
It's nonsense. Right? No, because when I just showed you a point where your argument fails, you then had to come through and make some ad hoc explanation. Well, that object's in motion, and Our physics work whether the object's in motion or not. In fact, the same physics, hold on, the same physics that describe what happens also predicts what happens.
We've seen in the free fall motion of the vomit comet how a density tower doesn't work because it's all in free fall at the same time. The frame comes to rest and has resistance. That's
what is the buoyancy equation?
You're laughing at me when I say resistance.
Yeah. What is the buoyancy equation to you? What is the buoyancy equation to you?
There is no buoyancy equation. Then
how can you say that it's buoyancy? But Aussie, how can you say it's buoyancy if you cannot tell me how to predict what you're saying? You can just say, oh, well, it's density and buoyancy, and I should just understand what you're saying. I should just understand. Okay, so no. But what's the buoyancy equation? How do I know that things that are more dense are going to float? Okay, tell me this. How much is a piece of ice? How much is a piece of ice going to sink into the water?
Mate,
now use the buoyancy force equation
upon which it's in.
I said water and ice. I said water and ice.
Determine the amount of resistance from the medium. So water and ice, they're both water, aren't they?
No.
But the water doesn't really resist
I need you to make a prediction for me. I need you to predict how much of that ice, how much of an ice cube is water. Yes, I can easily predict it. I can easily predict it. Right now, I can use. Yes, absolutely. I'm a wizard. You know why? Because the buoyancy force equation is not that fucking hard to understand.
No, mate.
Just because you don't understand it isn't my fault, nor is it anybody in the audience's. You need to figure out what buoyancy is and then come back with your buoyancy argument.
I told you what buoyancy is.
You didn't even know what density was. You thought density was mass times volume.
Yeah, you think it's divided by
what you're talking about. How can you just say that gravity is density times density and buoyancy together? You don't even talk about how they're together. You just say together. You just say, is density and buoyancy together? Come on, explain to me.
Equation I can work with. Then something different, since you obviously we can't come to.
Okay, then explain no. Well, hold on. No. I'm not gonna. You brought up the.
You brought up the equinox.
I offered it, and you. Yeah, but in the rebuttal, you brought up the ciliate luxotus and the gravity. So we're going to talk about that first. You've been wanting to talk about
gravity. So sorry to interrupt, team. I'm getting even more feedback in the live chat. Praise, let's go back. They said in the live chat, they said this is actually worse. So Praise, if we can go back to the original setting for the audio, and then so sorry to do this. I promise this is the last time.
No, it's okay.
It'll at least be better because apparently we've taken it to a place it should not ever go. Praise, that I should have known actually. So Praise, if you're able to clip it back to about, I think you said 14 where it was. In fact, I would even, if I remember when we hosted last month, you could even bring it back down to, I would say maybe like 5 or 10 for the pluses on the gain, Praise, and then I think that will just kind of play from there, and it should at least stop the clipping. Praise, are you there? Praise might be getting a hot dog right now or something. Okay. Thank you for your help. Very embarrassing. Okay. I would bring it back down to 10, maybe even 5, and we'll bear with it. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. And thanks for your patience, Team Skeptic and Fire Aussie.
Oh, not a problem at all. I know about that. I deal with Fight the Flat Earth. I know about technical problems all the time. The dude's internet hamster will just stop running in the middle of a show.
Not a technical problem, mate. That's an actual problem. But you know, we Flat Earthers are very tolerant. We put up with all sorts.
Thanks, Praise, for your help. All right, gentlemen. Thanks so much. The floor is yours again.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're still rattling on about resistant force not being the force. You think it's a pulling force as opposed to the resisting force. I tell you that what we observe as gravity is a resisting force, and if there is a lack of resistance, something will drop. That's just the nature of it. If it's all dropping at the same rate in the same medium, it will drop at the same rate in the same medium without the resistance. As soon as it reaches a place of resistance, that's when everything equalizes. You're trying to say that the mass of something is divided by the volume. I say the mass is the volume, and it's how dense it is in that particular given volume.
Oh my God. Okay, so if I have a ball that I can hold in my hand that weighs 1 kilogram, and I have a ball that I can hold in my other hand, or that I have to use 2 hands to hold that weighs 1 kilogram, they both have the same mass, but which one is more dense?
I beg your pardon, they're both 1 kilogram.
I'm not gonna slap myself hard enough for everybody to hear it, but right now I'm fucking face palming. Not even kidding. No, mass and density are not the same thing. Density is when the increase in density is when you take the same amount of mass and you shrink it down, you increase the density. So if you have a 1 kilogram ball that you can hold with one hand versus a 1 kilogram ball that you can hold with 2 hands, the 1 kilogram ball that you can hold with 2 hands is going to be less dense than the 1 kilogram ball that you can hold with 1 hand.
Okay, that's fine because you're talking about the volume, so it's less dense. It's bigger.
Mass or density is equal to mass divided by volume. The buoyant force is.
No.
You just agreed with me. You just agreed with me.
No, I did not.
Oh my God, this
is less dense. Just because it's a bigger volume, that's what makes it less dense. If it was a smaller volume, it would be more.
That's what I'm saying, Aussie. That's what I'm saying, bro. Listen, bro. Listen. That's what I'm saying the whole time. Density is equal to mass divided by volume. When you increase the volume, you decrease the density. You agree with me, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well then density is equal to mass divided by volume. That's your first mistake. We got past it now. I'm not here to tell you that that's a globe earth proof. I'm here to tell you that that's a basic understanding of math and science.
Well you're saying divided, I'm saying it's times. You know, either way, you're still going to get the same answer, aren't you?
No, you're not.
Yes.
No, you're not.
I was actually pretty good at maths back in my day. And
no, citation fucking needed, Aussie. Citation needed.
Reverse, you know, like you can reverse an equation and still get the same result. Yeah.
I think to just quick last interjection, thanks for your patience. Flat Earth Aussie, I think if you're able to move closer to your mic, that's a good idea we got from several people in the live chat. I don't know if it's one that you're able to move closer to. So sorry about harassing you about this, Flat Earth Aussie. Thanks for being a good sport. And then
I've tried, but it just makes my face get bigger.
You have a terrific face. It's the best face. And with that, thanks, gentlemen.
Okay, so back to my ice cube. I still want to know, how is it that I can predict how much of an ice cube will be above water based on its density? And hold on, and the buoyancy equation, I can take those two equations that you're using to say that things fall down, and I can use those two equations to prove to you why an ice cube, which is less dense than water, okay, Aussie Jesus, you hear that? An ice cube, ice is less dense than water, yet it still semi-submerges into the water. And I can predict, based on my knowledge of the earth, I can predict how much that ice cube is going to sink inside of the water. Can you do that with anything you just told me to explain gravity?
You're hilarious, mate. Like, seriously, you've made observations, the same observations we can all make. Ice is water. It's just the fact that when it freezes, gets colder, it expands slightly more. So that's why it's...
So is it less dense or more dense? Is it less dense or more dense?
Technically less dense per volume.
No, not technically. It is less dense. Ice is less dense than water. Volume. Okay. Yes. No, ice is less dense than water. Why does it not sit? Ice is less dense than liquid water. Okay.
Yes.
Why does ice not? Why does ice not float on top of the water? Why does it sink down? It semi-submerges. Why?
Because it's basically almost exactly the same density as...
That doesn't matter. That has no bearing on anything whatsoever. If your argument, hold on, if your argument is that things that are less dense will float on top of the water, then there should be no reason that ice sinks in. I can tell you why.
Where did I say, team? Where did I say that it floats on top of the water? I said density.
I'm saying it. I'm telling you
to the amount of resistance. And the amount of resistance of something that's virtually identical to itself means it's only going to float at the freaking surface.
So what is it resisting? What is it resisting? What is water resisting? The ice is less dense than the water. This doesn't go to your lead ball is more dense than wooden table, therefore wooden table holds lead ball up.
Ice is not a helium balloon, is it? Yeah, come on. Get realistic.
What is it? That's a non sequitur. What does that have? That has nothing to do with anything. Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, you can't just start melding things together so they fit the situation, okay? You can't just come in here and say, well, they're close, so therefore that's why ice sinks. No, that's not why ice sinks. If your definition of density, okay, please be quiet while I finish this.
What we might have to do is maybe go with like 2-minute statements and kind of go in through these intervals. So we'll give 2 minutes to team, and then I promise we'll come right to you once he finishes this idea. We'll come right back to you, Flat Earth Aussie.
Great idea.
Okay, so if your explanation of density and buoyancy describes gravity, right? Density and buoyancy. Well, what part of that describes why an ice cube semi-submerges into water?
My turn now? As I kept trying to explain to you, Team Idiot, is that the density difference between water and ice is so minimal that they basically exist at the same level. If we were to compare, say, a helium balloon in that same environment, the helium balloon is obviously going to float. In fact, it will even float in the air and go up to its highest level that it possibly can, according to the density of the surrounding medium of the balloon itself, to stop it from going any higher. So you're talking about things of such minimal difference of density that's exactly why we use examples like density tower to show us how density and buoyancy works. One thing resists another thing to X amount of degree. When you're talking about ice to water, you're talking about virtually identical density. Just one is slightly less dense because it's slightly more volume, and therefore it floats at the surface, not on top of it, unlike, say, a ball full of air would do.
Well, let me step in for a second and say that all of that is stupid, and it's not correct. The density of ice is 8% less than water. Therefore, 8% of the ice will be on top of the water, not underneath it. No, 8% of the weight of the mass of the ice will be above the water line. 8%.
Sounds about right. Yep.
It is right. Ain't no about right about it. It is right.
Okay, good.
Now, why does it not sit on top? It does not matter how less dense a thing is. Okay, so tell me this then, Aussie Jesus. At what point do we get a defined level? I mean, does it need to be 12%? Does it need to be 15%? No. If your explanation holds, then anything less dense than what's underneath it, it's going to float on top of it. There would be no reason for it to be pulled down.
Oh, for fuck's sake, we just agreed that's 8%. That's it, 8%. That's
and?
Not 100%. If it's 100%, then it will float on top. But 8%...
If it's 100, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. I mean, if it's 100% less, then it's like zero.
That's right, and then it'll float entirely 100% on top.
It doesn't have mass at that point. If something has a density of 0 grams per centimeter cubed, then it does not exist. It has no mass. It has no mass. Honestly, no,
we've just decided.
I mean, you can say what you want. Your insults don't bother me.
Your ice is 92% as dense as the liquid water. Therefore, 92% of it will not rise above it, but 8% will.
Why?
Because of the lack of...
I can explain it. I can explain it using the 2 equations that you have already brought up.
I have never brought up an equation. Don't put...
Sure you did. You said density, mass divided by volume, and buoyancy. That's an equation.
The resistant force. The lack of resistance.
No, it's rho VG.
Compared to frozen water.
No, it's rho VG. Rho VG, where G is really A. Rho VA.
Sorry, I don't speak formula. I speak English.
I know you don't. I know you don't. I know you that everything I said just went completely over your head. However, you did just say that the explanation for gravity is both of those formulas, density and buoyancy. You said that. While I said these are the formulas, which they are, you're the one that said that that's what the explanation for gravity is. Now, can you put those two?
Can you explain to me then with your formula why the steel ball, once it hits the water, keeps on dropping, but the tennis ball does not, even though they both hit the water exactly the same time? Can you tell me where this formula
Yes, because the total volume of the tennis ball, the total mass of the tennis ball and all the air on the inside, hold on. I understand that. The total mass of the tennis ball with all the air on the inside of it, that's the density, is less than water.
Well, let's say it's a solid rubber ball.
Okay, then they're both going to fall to the bottom.
No, the solid rubber ball still floats.
Well, if the solid rubber ball floats, then it's less dense than the water. I don't know what your density is of the solid rubber ball. You got to give me something more than that. I was thinking a solid rubber ball that you set in the water and sank to the bottom. You're talking about one that floats on top? Okay, well, then that's that rubber ball.
Go back to your tennis ball then, that's fine.
Okay.
Let's say it's full of air. We know it's less dense. So you are now agreeing with me that it's a density and buoyancy issue.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yes. But hold on. Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, hold on. In the buoyancy equation, there is gravity. So if you're agreeing with me that it is density and buoyancy, then you are therefore accepting that gravity is a fact.
No, I'm just saying it is.
Yes.
Buoyancy
Yes.
The whole way.
No, I know. Buoyancy. Rho VG. Rho VG, density, mass divided by volume. Okay? Buoyancy. Rho VG, where G represents gravity.
Okay, so can you explain to me then why medium of air, the tennis ball and the lead ball of exact same size, same volume, fall at exactly the same rate?
Because there's not enough resistance to make a difference.
So it's resistance.
Yes, of course. When you're dropping it through a medium, if the medium is
the same.
Yes, of course. But, and when you look at the equation for force, F equals mass times the acceleration, the gravitational acceleration, the force of the lead ball is being pulled on more than the buoyant force is able to hold up. And will fall until the ball reaches the buoyant force that equals the gravitational force pulling down on the ball. The force pushing up would have to equal the force being pulled down.
So density and buoyancy explains it perfectly. Thank you very much. That's good.
Yes, it does. But you have to also, you can't just redefine buoyancy and say that density and buoyancy describe that. If you're going to use buoyancy, hold on, Aussie Jesus. If you're going to use buoyancy, but you don't think gravity is a part of it, then you need to redefine what buoyancy is. At least give me an equation that will describe what happens. Resistance. There's resistors that give resistance. Yeah, are they buoyant as well?
That is the force.
Electric resistors provide resistance. Is that buoyant as well?
No, it's resistance.
Okay, so your definition is fallacious. Please define it better. Please give me a more well-defined definition of buoyancy. I've given you one. Rho VG.
Of mass in a given volume. A resistor in an electrical current works exactly the same way as anything else that resists something, in that it has more resistant force than what it was otherwise flowing through. So instead of the medium air, it's through a wire current, and then this thing comes along and resists it, and therefore it is given a certain number of resistance.
Okay, but is it buoyant? Is that buoyancy?
In a sense, it's
no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. Not even close to similar. Not even close to similar.
It's so similar, it's not even funny.
No, it's not even close to similar, and it's not very funny.
Well, I disagree.
Please give me the buoyant force equation that you use to make your predictions that are based on buoyancy.
I do not use equations to make predictions Because every medium through which something is moving through is different, whether it be air,
Yes.
water,
But it all works with the same physics.
whatever.
It all works with the same physics, and they all, no matter whether we use mercury as the liquid substance, water as the liquid substance, or air as the fluid substance, it doesn't matter. It all follows the same equation: rho v g.
Yeah, the amount of resistance of the medium. Exactly.
Take away gravity, but okay, so you accept gravity. That's what I don't think you understand. I'm
So
really
you're telling me
struggling.
electrical current
You are
works
telling me
because
that
gravity-
you accept buoyancy as the explanation for gravity, but you refuse to accept gravity as part of the buoyant equation, the buoyant force equation. You're like ready to throw that out, but you want to say buoyancy is the reason this happens, but buoyancy is not really buoyancy. Buoyancy is really resistance.
No, I tell you,
That's
what you're
dumb.
trying to say, though, is that your gravity, what you believe to be gravity, is pulling things sideways into your ball and upwards to the underneath of your ball with the same force that we can observe in reality of everything just dropping. Everything just drops. You know, you use a plumb bob to make plumb to the level.
Why does everything
You
drop?
don't
Why
use
does
a plumb
everything
bob on
drop?
the side
Why does
of the
everything
ball.
drop? But why does everything drop?
Density and buoyancy.
Yeah, you can't do that. No, you don't. You have no idea what you're talking about.
No,
You have
I just
zero
explained
idea
to
what
you
you're talking about.
exactly
No, you
what I'm
don't.
talking
No,
about.
you don't.
You're the
Because I
one trying
asked
to
you for
say-
the equation. No, you
You're
don't.
the
Because I
one-
asked you for the equation for the buoyant force, for your equation, for how you make predictions to make sure that you're saying is right. And you can't even give that to me. But you can tell me that it's buoyancy all day long. Well, here's the buoyant force equation. Rho VG. Learn that. Go learn what those terms mean. Then come back and say, I can explain it without gravity now, and here's the equation. Until you can do that, you have no argument, because your argument relies on gravity.
Okay, so your 2 minutes is now up. Thank you. I'll get my 2 minutes to maybe put a word in edgewise. You're the one saying that the gravity works sideways and upside down according to your theory of your magic spinning space ball in outer space. We don't say that. G
What are you talking
in
about?
any formula
Sideways.
is downwards.
Okay. What are you talking about sideways? What are you talking about sideways?
One sec. I do think it's a good idea if we go to those 2-minute intervals. So, and I did a bad job of implementing.
Well, I'm just asking him to tell me what he means by the sideways pull of gravity. I'm not 100% sure
ball,
on.
Mate, has one down. Everything else is sideways. Then it starts going upside down all the way around it. That's your spherical ball. You are saying that your G pulls everything towards the center. This is your argument, whereas observable reality, everything we can do in physics says G is down, straight down, everywhere at all times. There is no
to the center of the earth.
Oh, shut up for a second, for fuck's sake.
To the center of the earth. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
No.
Yeah,
down.
I agree with you. Yeah, in Australia, the center of the earth.
Oh god, now again. Don't give me this here in Australia. Australia is just as upright as everywhere else for the rest of
no shit, right? Thanks to
upon.
gravity. Thank you, gravity. Pulling everything to the center of the earth. I appreciate that.
So let's jump into a 2-minute interval. So we're going to go for 2 minutes. We're going to let a Flat Earth Aussie make that case and finish up those points. And then I promise we'll come right back to you, team.
I'm good. I'll mute my mic so I don't interrupt. I'll yell at muted mic.
That's a really good idea, mate. But I've made my point. There is nothing apart from up and down.
I had thought you had. That's why I interrupted. I thought you were done making your point.
Okay.
You just said you were done making your point, you idiot.
I think you just summarizing. So let's let Flat Earth Aussie do that summary of that point, and then we'll come back. I mean, you don't have to use the Flat Earth or the 2 full minutes if you don't want to, Flat Earth Aussie.
Thank you. I'll just use as much as it takes to make my point. Is that the fact is that up and down, as proven with the plumb bob and the spirit level, one is perfectly perpendicular. You got a 90-degree level across the provably level, as according to the nature of liquids, plane that we live upon. There is no example of somebody going 500 miles away where you can just zoom in on him. Maybe it's not even that far. Let's just say 100 miles away, and seeing his plumb bob going at a slight angle to his spirit level going at a slight angle. that never, ever, ever, ever happens. There is nothing spherical about the nature of the plane upon which we live. Everything proves water level, perpendicular, and the gravitational force, which is not a force at all, it's just a measurement of time and distance of something in the medium of air, 9.8 meters per second squared, is just the normal observation of the natural physics that we can observe. There is nothing ever showing that something will go sideways in comparison to your particular perpendicular. They are all perpendicular no matter where across the plane we go. Now, team, knock yourself out before I do.
All right. Everything you said was wrong, and you're a moron. There's no such thing as a universal down. So we don't think of the Earth as being down from the North Pole and then everything works sideways. No, it all pulls to the center point. So at any point on the surface, down is towards the center of the Earth. That's it. Sorry if you don't get it, but if you can't understand that concept, then you're in no position to be arguing for the flat Earth. None.
Mate, I understand your concept 100%, hence why I say, just as you just said, if down from the North Pole is down, then anywhere towards the center has to be sideways in respect to that. How fucking
that doesn't matter. Who cares about the respect to that? Who cares about the respect to that? That's not what we're in respect to. In respect to the surface of the Earth, it's always down. And in respect to the Earth as a whole, it's always towards the center point, the center of mass.
That's the
Why
problem
is
with
that?
your whole belief, though. The problem with your whole belief is that you've now negated
It's not a belief.
reality. It is.
It's not a
You've
belief.
negated reality. You've said there's no such thing as up and down. Everything is just in and out, in and out.
Well, you can say what I said all you want, but that I didn't say that. Down is always in the direction of the local gravitational force. Always.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you know what a centrifuge is? Do you know what a centrifuge is? Well, something that spins around really fast to separate like blood and plasma and stuff like that. You know what that is, right?
Like a spinny thingy?
Yeah, spinny thingy, okay? Inside of that frame of reference of the vial, guess what? Down is not towards the center of the Earth when it's spinning. Down is towards, it has one vector going down towards the center of the Earth, and then has another vector due to the acceleration of the spinning. You take those two factors together, and you can calculate how much force is being applied on the inside of that vial.
That's right. You're applying a force. You're not talking about the natural observable physics that we see in our everyday world.
Yes, I am. Drop a bottle of water and see if bubbles rise in it. That's natural. There's no manipulation.
Doesn't ordinarily drop.
Who cares what it ordinarily does? Are you kidding me? We don't have to set it. We don't have to prove it under your specific terms. You don't even you believe that people in Australia on the globe Earth model, they're really upside down. That is the limit of your education and your intelligence. Once you said that, this debate is done. At this point, it's just entertaining the people, right? Because you just said that there's universal down.
We'll go back into the 2-minute interval. So we're going to give 2 minutes to Flat Earth Aussie to respond to that, and I promise we'll give you 2 minutes as well, team.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that because he interjects at every chance he bloody gets. He says that the natural nature of a bottle of water is to be dropping. No, it's not. That if you left the bottle of water alone, its nature will be to remain at rest. Once you interfere with that, you are not talking about the natural laws of physics. You are talking about something you've interfered with. The natural laws of physics says an object at rest remains at rest unless another force acts upon it. Once you enact another force upon it, that's when you can start to make observations of what happens in the laws of physics. It doesn't happen otherwise.
Okay, so my question to you, F equals ma. Yeah, who gives a hey, hold on, let me address that point before you start waffling on to the next point. You just said F equals ma. You're right, F equals ma. Therefore, if there is no acceleration on an object, if it's at rest and there's no forces on that object, it's never going to go anywhere. It's going to sit in the same spot, right? So when you drop a tennis ball, why does it drop?
lack of resistance from the air.
Oh my God, that's not F equals ma. What are you talking about? Now you're contradicting yourself, you idiot. Don't contradict yourself, Aussie. Don't contradict yourself. You just said F equals ma.
Let's give Aussie a minute or two, and then I promise we'll come right back.
Yeah, goddamn. You're exposing yourself now as the idiot when you project as to saying, oh, I'm an idiot, because you just said you lifted up a tennis ball and then you dropped it. If you didn't lift it up and you left it at rest, it would remain at rest. You lifted it up. You put.
You didn't. No.
Hey, shut the fuck up, for fuck's sake.
Okay.
You applied an energy to it.
Just like take a deep breath.
You put an action onto something, and the reaction is it dropping. If you didn't pick it up, if you didn't apply the energy or a force to it, it would remain at rest. Go for it.
Okay, so now my question is, if you pick something up and you move it up, you pull it up, and you move it over 1 foot, is it going to drop down to the same spot? Is it going to react to all the energy you put into the ball to pick it up 3 feet up and 1 foot over? Are you going to drop it and is it going to fall to the same spot? No, it's not, is it? Yes, I'm serious. When you say stupid shit like gravity's pulling in sideways, when you say stupid shit like there's a universal down, yes, I have to go all back to very much basic, because you do not understand when you're holding a ball up and you let go of it, the ball, if you don't push the ball, you are not accelerating it. You are not putting any force into it. Why does the ball move? Why?
You just said if you don't apply a force to it, it won't move.
Yes, it will. Okay, well then, how about this? There's a ball
in a parabolic arc.
How about this? There's a ball on it. There's a ball on a hill, and I dig a hole in the side of the hill, and I dig a hole all the way up to the ball that's been sitting there, or rock, or whatever natural object you want to put out there, and I dig a hole up from the bottom, not getting to the rock, just getting close to the rock. What's going to happen to the rock? Is it just going to float there, or is it going to fall through? It's going to fall down. Why?
Depends on the amount of resistance of the ground.
Oh my God, what is it resisting? What is it resisting? You keep saying resistance, resistance, resistance. What is it resisting?
I'm not following your stupid.
What is it resisting? I have now taken a situation where you said the only way you could ever get something to move is to put energy into it. Okay, now I'm talking about an object that's sitting on the hill. You can make it just a natural random rock, okay? Hold on. I dig a hole in the side of the hill. I dig it straight up to the rock. So that way I never manipulate the rock. I only remove the dirt underneath the rock. I don't even get all the way to the rock. I leave 1 little centimeter of dirt between the rock and the hole beneath it, the hole I dug. Now what's going to happen to that rock? Is it just going to sit there? No, it's going to fall, but why? Why is it going to fall? You don't have an explanation. You can say resistance, but what is it resisting? Okay, you said resistance. What is it resisting?
No, you missed the entire point.
What is it resisting? No, what is it resisting? Answer that question. What is it resisting?
It's the lack of resistance.
No, what is it have to resist? What is it trying to resist?
If the resistant force is insufficient,
now you're making shit up. Resistant force, give me an equation.
Hold on, we do have to let him finish. Let's let him finish that point. If the resistant force is insufficient or sufficient, whatever you were saying, Aussie.
Insufficient, then it is lacking.
What is it resisting?
Okay, we do. Let's let him finish. Like one,
tell him.
One or two
ask him what is it resisting. Then he needs it to. He can't. The mass. Why?
1 or 2. Okay.
Why? That James. He can answer these questions. Okay. Why is it resisting the mass? If the mass is not moving, why does it need to resist it?
I'm trying to answer you, team, but you don't give me a chance. As I just said, mass is itself a force in that it has weight per volume, and therefore the resistant force beneath it must be sufficient to resist it. And if it's insufficient to resist it, if it lacks the resistant force, then the thing will drop. And so if you've gone and removed all the resistance beneath it, it doesn't mean that you've lifted that rock up into that spot. You've just removed the resistant force beneath it. So, of course, it's going to drop until the place...
Okay, so the entire time that you talked, you could have just said it was resisting its weight, right?
Exactly.
Okay, this is why I interrupt you, because nobody needs to hear you talk for fucking 3 minutes to get one simple answer that you're just going to beat around the bush for. Guess what? Weight is a force. Do you understand that? Weight is a force. Mass times acceleration. F equals ma, just as you spoke about it. Yes or no? Did you not say that F equals ma?
I said that weight without resistance will appear to be a force. It's not a force, but you may think of it as a force.
No, it's a force. No, it's a force. You take a scale and accelerate it slower than 9.8 meters per second squared, and it will still measure a weight on the scale, but it will be a reduced weight. In other words, you have two competing accelerations going. As long as you're not accelerating it at 9.8 meters per second, you'll have an acceleration vector still going down. So let's say you accelerated at 4.5 meters per second, 4.4 meters per second, or 4.9 meters per second. When you did that, it would weigh half as much on the scale. That's what weight is. You are now accepting that mass is accelerating. What's accelerating the mass to generate the weight?
The mass is its own force in a sense, so long as there's nothing to resist it. When you've got something to resist it, the resistance.
Do you have a citation on that?
Is what you can measure. If you drop, say, the same mass in a free fall aeroplane, the Vomit Comet, and you put a scale beneath it, it's going to measure 0 because the scale is falling at the same rate as the mass. But the mass itself has not lost its weight. You've just lost the ability to measure it according to conventional circumstances. But the mass is always going to be the same mass. It doesn't ever change just because we lose the ability to measure it according to the standards that we like to do when we're putting it upon a solid floor in the medium of air to measure something. That's all.
You're the one that said it was resisting its weight, okay? We put a rock, if there's a rock on the ground and it's not accelerating, it shouldn't have weight.
Why not? It still has,
because it has no weight, is a force. It's mass times acceleration.
No, it's own
mass. No, yes.
Versus the resistant force.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Mass is a property of an object. Weight is that property of an object times whatever gravitational acceleration or whatever acceleration it's under. That is what weight is. Get it right. Yes. And are you redefining weight? Are you redefining weight?
Mass and volume.
Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, are you redefining weight? Are you redefining weight? Okay. Then go learn what weight is before you try to tell me that I'm wrong.
Mass and
you have no clue what you're talking about. You sound like a fucking dumbass.
Mass and volume are the given, mate. The ability to measure something does not change the difference between the mass and volume of the particular.
I didn't say it did I?
It has the same mass. If that
I didn't say it didn't, did I?
Mass that it always had. Yes, you did.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
What you said,
wrong.
Once you remove the resistant force of the rock beneath it, that it should just float. That's what you
it should, according to you, if there's no acceleration. No, not mass, acceleration. Flat Earth, listen, Aussie, listen.
Don't give me
you said, hush, listen. You said that objects move under acceleration, and you said F equals ma.
Acceleration. Stop lying.
Did you say F equals ma? Did you say that?
You did. You said
no, oh my God, Flat Earth, Aussie, you brought up F equals ma when I was sitting there quiet and during your 2 minutes, and I was like, oh good, I'm glad he brought up F equals ma, because according to F equals ma, yes, you did.
Okay,
according to F equals ma, if there is no acceleration, if gravity doesn't exist, then when you drop a ball, if there is no force, that ball should not accelerate, ever. It should just sit there and float. That should be what happens.
No, I said it's the lack of resistance of the air beneath it that allows it to accelerate because of its mass. And now if you drop that same thing in, say, a cauldron of oil or, down a well, the resistant force is going to be greater and it's not going to accelerate at the same rate that we can measure it moving through the medium of air, which is basically a large lack
of
resistance.
But you're wrong.
Drop it, beg your pardon? How am I wrong?
You're wrong.
We can see this. We can measure it.
I showed you. You already admitted that you saw. You already
accelerate the same rate.
Right, because there's less resistance. The air does not provide enough resistance to slow down the tennis ball.
Exactly. So it allows it to accelerate.
And what? And what?
It's not
That means nothing. Yes, you're right. That's the buoyant force. Rho v
it's a
g.
lack of resistance.
No, rho v g. That is the buoyant force. If you were to have
your own VG, mate, I think you're getting a bit of
that's fine. I understand that it confuses the shit out of you and probably frustrates you that I bring up actual equations that you don't already know, even though you're the one that brought up buoyancy and density. Okay? You didn't know what density was. Now you have no clue what buoyancy is. How can you bring up buoyancy? Hold on. How can you bring up buoyancy as a evidence when you don't even realize that buoyancy has gravity in it? Jesus Christ.
We're going to give 2 minutes to Flat Earth Aussie to respond, and then I promise we'll give you 2 minutes as well, team.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Like, you invoke this force of gravity to explain why your amoeba learns up and down, even though it's in a medium of water, which obviously has less pressure above it, less pressing down on it, and more giving it buoyancy beneath. Even a single-celled organism can learn the difference between density and buoyancy. But you invoke a force, an attractive force, due to the mass of something beneath it. Whereas it's actually the mass beneath it, which is the resistant force. That's all there is. It's resistance. In the medium of air, as we keep on describing, there's a lack of resistance in the medium of air. Pull out a parachute, okay, you've got a fair bit of resistance in that medium. But if you don't pull out the parachute, you're just going to drop the same rate. The lead ball and the tennis ball drop from a bridge in the same medium of air, hit the surface of water at exactly the same time. However, one will keep going, not because of a force of gravity, simply because
measure the force of attraction between.
Oh, that was a bit rude.
I didn't mean it. It's the only way I can get it to play. It shouldn't have had audio on it. That you've been talking for more than 2 minutes anyway. I'm just letting you ramble on. Oh yes. Yeah, I am. I looked down at the clock. I looked down at the clock when you began waffling, and yes, you've talked for more than 2 minutes just now.
Okay,
I'm just getting something prepared for you to prepare to submit to show how stupid you are. So give me 1 second to get that.
For yourself. Okay, fine.
Okay, so now that it's my turn to show, let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. All right. So this is an experiment that was done, or a demonstration. I can call it.
Its weight is 152.166 grams.
Looks like an electronic scale to me.
Now we move the heavy lead ball under the scale, adding its mass to the mass of the Earth. The weight has increased by 1/1000th of a gram, which represents the attraction between the pyramid and the ball. When the mass under the pyramid got bigger, the force of attraction did too.
And that's your evidence for gravity. Is that what you're really trying to say? That
no, I want you to try to explain that. Explain it. How did the resistance change between the two balls just because you moved one under the other?
For the first point, I don't think there was two balls. I think there was a pyramid. And
whatever. The two objects. Hold on. It's not the place. Sorry, I didn't want for this to happen.
And I would say that they were probably made out of the same material, most likely lead. And as we basically can see in nature, like attracts like. So the fact that the lead wants to join with the other lead does not prove that this 1,000 gram.
Did you say like detects like? Have you ever tried to put two? Have you ever tried to put two magnets together, North Pole to North Pole? Yeah, that was a dumbass statement by you. If that's your explanation, that's a horrendous explanation. Do you have anything more
science? Mate, not.
Okay, well, magnets that are both, you can take identical magnets that were made from the same material and put two North Poles together, they will repel each other. So everything you just said was wrong. Now try to give me a scientific or at least a well-defined explanation for what just went on in that video.
Okay, TS, I will try to explain. Maybe if that pyramid was made of wood or glass or something else, we would not see the same reaction. But we don't know that because we never got the opportunity to test different substances. All we got to see was lead attracted to lead. So, you know, it doesn't really prove a damn thing except something that you're trying to prove that you want to prove. If you
Have
try
you
it with different
ever-
substances, try it with wood. You know, try
Have
the
you-
lead ball instead of that using a giant aquarium the same way full of water.
Okay.
And see if the
Have
same
you-
thing happens.
Have you ever seen an experiment or ever heard of an experiment or ever in your own personal experience in life ever seen lead attract another piece of lead?
No, but I have heard of the.
And why would you make that
what's
statement?
That famous gravity?
Why do you ad hoc an explanation for something that's right in front of
famous
you?
gravity experiment you normally do? I can't
That
think of it.
I normally do? Are you talking about Cavendish?
Cavendish, there we go.
I didn't bring up Cavendish in here.
You didn't, no, but generally people who like to believe in gravity will say that
Mhm.
the Cavendish experiment proves the attraction of mass to mass, even though they're both resisting the mass beneath them the exact same amount. All I'm saying is that anything of a like material will eventually seek to be with a like material and come to rest at it. It doesn't.
Okay,
prove
in the Cavendish
attractive force of
experiment,
mass.
in the Cavendish experiment, the Earth pulls, the acceleration on both balls is equal. Okay, so they're only experiencing acceleration between each other. They both experience the 9.8 meters per second squared towards the Earth. So we don't really have to worry about that. They're being pulled on equally, both of them are. Now, why are they coming together in the Cavendish experiment? Why is one ball attracted to the other?
Exactly, and my point is that nothing is ever really at rest, especially if it's suspended on a string or some sort of pendulum. All they're really going to do is eventually come to rest against one another, and that's just the nature of anything. It wants to come to rest somewhere. If it's not allowed to.
Do you have any kind of scientific proof or evidence for this?
Yeah, the
Something I could see and repeat and do it myself and see it and repeat it?
Yeah, the Cavendish experiment.
The Cavendish experiment, if you're going to reference that, then you need to reference how it doesn't show that it's gravitationally attracted between the two. There's a gravitational attraction between the two balls.
No, I just showed that anything that's not fully at rest.
No, you didn't show.
will
You said.
eventually
You
come to
said.
rest.
You said
It
that
doesn't
everything
prove
will eventually
massive
come to
mass.
rest, but you didn't show that everything will eventually come to rest. You keep saying
The
these
Cavendish
things,
experiment
but
does
you
that.
have nothing to back them up. You said density was mass times volume. You couldn't prove that because it's wrong. You have said that buoyancy is the reason for things falling to the ground, but you didn't understand the buoyant force equation, nor did you even realize that the buoyant force equation has gravity in it.
Come on. You can
What do you?
convince yourself
I'm
of all
pointing
these
out.
lies if
I'm
that's- that
pointing
makes you feel
out
comfortable.
everything so far. No, I'm pointing out everything so far that you don't understand. That you walked into this debate thinking you did understand it. You cannot
No.
ad hoc
You're
with
not
bad
pointing out
explanations.
anything. You're not pointing out a damn thing, mate. All you're doing is making accusations of things which
I pointed out. I showed the video where it showed. Look, I showed the video where there was an increase in force pulling down on an object simply by sliding another object underneath it. You tried to ad hoc it by saying, what? Like things attract like things. Citation needed. Okay? Citation needed. You're not just going to say it. Show it to me. Go grab every time I've said something, I've been able to pull something to back up what I'm saying.
Okay, let me
now I'm
answer you
asking you to pull something to back up what you're saying now.
Let me
Anything.
answer you then. Okay, fine.
We're going to give 2 minutes to let him
water.
explain this. Go ahead.
You've got drops of water condensation on a window. It's a cold day. The water is condensing down it. The drops sit there. You move one drop towards the other. As soon as they touch each other, like attracts like and they become one. That is an example of like attracting like. Things of the same nature want to be together. That is just the nature of reality. That's just a very simple example that comes to mind. You could use drops of mercury, two individual drops. As soon as they touch, boom, they're one big drop of mercury. There's multiple examples. Just because lead is a solid doesn't mean that one solid suspended close enough to another big mass of lead isn't going to want to have some form of attraction, which can be measured with very, very, very delicate scales, by the way, as we've seen in your laboratory experiment, of about 1,000th of a gram, which is nothing. That's not even a speck of dust difference. I'm finished. Thanks, James.
All right, so everything you said is okay when you're talking about liquids and molecular gases, maybe, but it does not mean that the same properties are going to hold true for physical solids like lead. Do you have anything that backs up what you just said, that two pieces of lead touch and they fuse together to become one piece of lead?
No, but over a given amount of time, you're basically talking about.
Do you have any proof of what you're saying, though, or are you just making it up? I'm asking you for proof.
Are you going to let me finish? Okay.
I'd like proof. If in your finishing, please give proof.
The nature of reality is such that everything exists at our given observation of it. So something like lead, it is technically a liquid, but it is such a slow liquid.
My God.
Because in this particular temperature, it appears to us to be a solid. Even water can appear to be a solid if you hit it fast enough. Everything in the nature of reality exists according to its temperature and density and buoyancy. So if you want to talk about lead, it is basically cold, like very, very cold mercury. You know, it's like water. When you make it really, really cold, it becomes a solid. But when it warms up, the temperature, the vibration, the frequency of it changes. You heat it up so much, it turns into a gas.
Okay,
And
so
all other things of physicality are on the same sort of spectrum in their own level.
Okay, so now you're trying to say solids and liquids are pretty much the same? Like lead as a solid is not the same as lead as a liquid. They might be molecularly the same, but they are not, they do not have the same physical attributes and physical properties.
Yeah, exactly like.
You drop a solid piece of lead into a cauldron and it's not going to conform to the container. You put liquid lead in there and it will conform to the container. There's a huge difference.
Exactly.
Okay, so when you put together two pieces of lead, why do they not fuse together?
Because they're too cold.
They're too cold. That's your, okay, great.
Well,
you're off, man. You're off.
You asked, I answered.
Yeah, why do they not? Why does the lead stick together then? Why does two pieces of lead stick together in themselves, hold together as pieces of lead? Why don't they just disintegrate?
Beg your pardon? What?
What's holding them together? What's holding the two pieces of lead together?
What two pieces lead together? They're both dropping.
I mean, they're not holding them together to each other, holding them together as one, each one. You have two pieces of lead. What is individually keeping them from just breaking apart and staying together as a solid?
The very nature of their substance. It's pretty straightforward, mate.
The very nature that's not a fucking answer, though. That's not an answer.
The nature of physics.
No. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. You just said like things attract. Aussie, listen. I'm trying to explain to you how bad your argument is. Okay. You said like things attract. Listen. You said like things attract. I have told you. What if I put two like things together, will they not become one? You said, well, when you see water droplets hit water, they become bigger water droplets. Okay, I take two pieces of lead, I put them together, they don't become one bigger piece of lead.
Because they're not in the liquid form, are they?
Because they don't attract each other like that. No, because they don't attract each other the way you think they do.
Yeah, but
that's the point.
Liquid form, and they will if you heat them up. It's a temperature thing.
That's irrelevant. What are you even talking about? That is completely irrelevant. That has nothing to do with it. Yes, it is. Why would that even make a difference?
Mate, then you better take some lessons.
No, okay. Flat Earth, Aussie Jesus. You, hold on. Listen, we started in this conversation because you tried to explain that observation by saying, like things attract, like things go together and they form one. Then you jumped from saying two solid lead objects attracting to each other are the same, are very similar to two pieces of water coming together and forming a bigger water droplet. I'm going off of your logic. Your logic is faulty.
We're going to give 2 minutes to Flat Earth Aussie, and then we will, let's see, I can't remember who started. if one of you would be so kind to defer to the other and giving them the last word at some point. We'll go into the Q&A pretty soon here, like maybe in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And so we'll give you about 2 minutes, Flat Earth Aussie, and then we'll kick it back over to team for 2 minutes just to make sure things don't go too off the rails. Thanks so much.
I'll give Aussie the last word no matter what. The crowd needs a laugh, and I'd like to give that to him so he can have the last word. So say what you got to say now. I'll say what I got to say, and then you can have the last word.
Thanks for giving me the microphone and still allowing Team Skeptic to just jump in and speak anyway, as he does. He's a bit of a rat bag like that, but we're all used to that.
I just told you could have the last fucking word, you fucking moron.
So
well, you spent time fucking telling everybody how you didn't appreciate me giving you the opportunity.
You guys are being hard on each other, and I think that it might go smoother in terms of getting the ideas out if we move forward.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this debate went completely haywire because all that we ended up discussing was the fact that Team Septic Tank could only talk about amoebas in pond scum, and we never even got beyond that. We were talking about density and buoyancy. Like I wrote down quite a few points here that I would have preferred to have discussed. Like, you know, first of all, confusing solstices with equinoxes. Watching lights in the sky does nothing to prove the shape or nature of the ground beneath us. Sigma Octantis isn't even visible to the naked eye. The drop is a normal part of any I can't even read my own writing. And degrees would get bigger as we observe the sun. If we were on a spinning ball, for example, looking at the sun over there, the degree of the amount of motion of the sun as we're moving, if you did it via a protractor, it would actually be getting faster as it went further away, as opposed to when it's closer to us. But we see a constant drift because the sun is moving a constant 15 degrees above us all day long. Back again to his like against like thing. All he's talking about is something suspended artificially above something beneath it. And therefore you might detect this slightly natural attractive force, as we say, 1,000th of a gram, virtually nothing of this thing wanting to be downward force towards itself. You put them next to each other, of course they're not going to move to each other because they've got the natural density downwards that's already resisting them. But you suspend one artificially above it, okay, it wants to be towards it. As far as that goes, I think I'm just going to let Team Septic Tank now finish up with his last comment.
All right. So my last comment starts with you don't know what you're talking about, because I did mean the equinoxes, because the sun makes the equatorial traversal on the equinoxes and the equinoxes alone. On the solstices during the let's say the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere, the sun's going to rise 23.6 degrees north of the equator, and on the summer solstice for the southern hemisphere, it's going to rise 23.6 degrees south, or 23.4 degrees, I'm sorry, south of the equator. Those are the solstices. The equinox is the only day that they rise due east and set due west for all observers on Earth. Still something that flat earthers cannot and will not even try to explain. Now, let's see. He said something earlier about moving faster than the speed of sound. I'm sure that he doesn't understand what he's fucking talking about, because if his logic held up, that any pilot flying at the speed of sound wouldn't be able to talk. No, the speed of sound is relative to the medium. So if the medium's moving with the Earth, even if it's spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, if the medium's moving at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator, of course, if the medium's also moving at that speed, then the speed of sound is still going to be the same within that medium. That's just physics. Let's see. I didn't completely understand his plate spinning nonsense. He didn't have any graphics or anything to back up what he was saying, so just kind of had to get as much as I could from what he was saying, and I just didn't catch it all. But again, he came in with density is mass times volume, which was hilarious. He tried to use buoyancy as an equation, as an explanation for gravity, not even understanding that the buoyant force equation, which describes buoyancy, includes an acceleration force. And when you're talking about, let's say, a pool of water and why things float or sink, that acceleration force is gravity. Still could not explain as to why, even though ice is 8% less dense than water, it doesn't float on top of the water. It actually semi-submerges. The simple fact of the matter is that any object with weight, no matter what its density is, if it has weight, it will sink into the water slightly. Those are just facts. Any object. Take it, try it, do it. Helium balloon, put it in a vacuum or whatever. I mean, I'm sure you can't do it in a vacuum, but go get a balloon that slightly sinks down and put it in a fish tank and look inside the fish tank and tell me that that balloon is not semi-submerged. And why it's semi-submerged is because it has weight. That weight will pull down on the balloon and all the contents inside of the balloon, and the water has to support that weight.
Goes up through the fucking sky, dude. Come on.
Hey, man, shut the fuck up while I talk. Isn't that how you talk to me?
If you guys are ready, we can jump into the Q&A. I want to say thanks so much to the speakers. The speakers are what make this fun. And so we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, both Flat Earth, the Aussie, and team. And also, folks, you know, as we've always done, we're pretty laissez-faire about how we have these speakers go. And so only occasionally will we kind of like keep the guardrails on. And then also, I know that there is some disappointment in the chat, and I will address it. Namely, I know that some of you are quite triggered by the fact that Nathan Thompson is a mod. And I would say that if Nathan Thompson is harassing people, if he's being mean to people, and it's true, I did tell him, because you'll be perhaps surprised to know, he called you an idiot. And I said, Nathan, like, whether you're a mod or not, like, you don't need to do that. And my point, though, is if you just tag me and you say, hey, this mod, whether it be Nathan or somebody else, if you say, hey, this mod is like kind of coming down hard on people, like they're not going to make a person feel welcome here at the channel, then let me know and I'll kind of peek at it and see how bad it is. But Nathan Thompson having a disorderly conduct, I'm not going to unmod him because of that. I almost got a disorderly conduct before. I mean, it was basically the cop's discretion that I didn't. And probably there are probably plenty of other mods who have had disorderly conducts or whatever else. And so the only real thing to be a mod, because we don't care about your views. You can be a flat earther, you can be a mod. The goal is for the channel to be neutral. And so the only thing is we just don't want, whether a person be a mod or just chilling in the chat, we don't want them to be harassing people. And so some of you, though, have said, and so you know why some of you have called you a crybaby. I don't take it back. Some of you are really, I mean, it's very sad, just sad. So, and the reason, and that's like a tiny percent, 99.9% of you, thanks so much, because you're just kind of like, yeah, you know, whatever. Like, but even if you ask, like, why is Nathan a mod? I'm okay with that. It's okay to ask. But some of you, the ones I've called a crybaby, if you are calling, whether it be Nathan Thompson or anybody, if you're calling them a predator, listen, it's true, he's a radical. He was trying to share his message with kids, and that's what got him the disorderly conduct. But if you're like, oh, he's a radical, I'm sorry, if you say that he's a predator, you're like, oh, he's a predator. It's like, okay, he's a radical, but don't try to use something that has the connotation that makes him sound like a pervert predator. So that's why I'm calling some of you guys crybabies. And so some of you, look, some of you are still ticked off. I'm like, hey, unsub, I don't care. We're sticking to our values. We are a channel hosting the meaningful questions of life, science, religion, politics, on a neutral playing ground. And so if you don't like it, like, you can unsub. I don't care. And it's amazing that some of you guys think that I'm like, oh, like, no, you're going to unsub because you think that I'm being too fair. I don't care. Okay, so let's jump into it.
I love this channel. I love this channel. And I want to say that this channel gives opportunities for people to get their voice out. You have great people coming on, even Flat Earth Aussie Jesus. I wanted to let you know, man, that last little outburst right there was just me making fun of the way you kept telling me to shut up. I really wasn't upset with you when I said, shut the fuck up. I was just clowning you back for saying that to me. I actually enjoy having these conversations with you and other people like yourself. So now that we're done with the debate,
that's
and
actually about halfway decent of you. Thank you.
Well, hey, you know what? To me, this is a competition. We're both in here to win. We're both in here to get our point out to the audience in the best manner.
Mate. I'm just here to
sure,
discuss the truth.
Well, that's, hey, you're trying to convince me that your truth is more, well, not me. Let's say you're really out here trying to convince the audience that your truth is more right than my truth. Okay. So it is a competition, and I do get worked up into the competitive moment. I just want you to know that there is no personal, like, I don't personally dislike you, Aussie, Fiage. I don't personally dislike you, Fiage. Well, the beard starts, the beard gets me going. But after that, I think you're a decent dude.
That's all good.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that we leave here not mad at each other, okay? Because I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself tonight. I haven't gotten this worked up in a while. I'm having a good time. Let's have fun.
We do appreciate your passion, you guys.
To you, James, while you were talking though about the moderators, I just wanted to put in my 2 seconds worth of opinion there and say that it seems particularly strange to me that one of your moderators calls himself Fight the Flat. He thought I was going to get wrecked before this debate even started, and I just think it's a little bit unbecoming to see a moderator be so biased towards one particular guest on your channel before the debate even starts. And I'm just wondering why such a person would even have a blue.
I'm gonna sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm gonna address that right now. Because Robert Madewell, I saw your comment in the live chat as well, and totally, brother, like, I get where you're coming from, and I get where you're coming from, Flat Earth Aussie as well. Both of you are making the same point, but from, I think, opposite sides of this debate, is that it's admittedly different here in that I'd say the only thing the moderators can't do, and this is a little bit, like I said, it's true, it can be confusing, that, like, I'm supposed to be totally neutral with regards to what is being debated. So, like, for your guys' discussion up here, I'm supposed to not take any sides and be pretty radical. I try to do that. The other thing is, in the live chat, we actually do allow the moderators to take a stance. The stance, it's okay if they say, like, oh man, sorry, Flat Earth Aussie, but if they say Flat Earth Aussie's going to get wrecked, or he did get wrecked, or vice versa, that's something I'm like, that I'm okay with. It's that if somebody, though, is harassing, like if Nathan Thompson is, like, I did give him a warning. I said, don't call people an idiot. And that's also something that we're kind of hoping people will not do if they're just chilling in the chat as well. And so thanks for that feedback from both Robert Madewell and Flat Earth Aussie. So, yeah.
No, I just think a moderator should be moderate. That's the whole point of the word, isn't it? They should be moderating. They shouldn't be using their personal bias to express opinions necessarily. I mean, they can still have an opinion as long as they're not putting down somebody, especially somebody who's been an invited guest upon the place, trying to work himself up, to make a debate, and just being told by the moderator before we even get started, oh, you're going to get wrecked. It's like, that's, to me, out of order.
I could see how it's a good reason for, if you guys want to have a debate, I'm open to it. The only trick here is I don't want to squelch the autonomy or the freedom of even the moderators saying that Flat Earth or Globe Earth is going to get wrecked. And so I get where you're coming from. I know, and we try to treat the guests as well as possible, which is why we're super laissez-faire, because it's like, the last thing I want to do is control you guys. That's why I hate using the mute button, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to invite you on and then I'm going to start muting you. I just feel like a tool if I do that.
Hey, James, I'm sorry if I ignored your...
That's okay. No problem.
I'm sorry, man. I was just into it. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I do have a question though. Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, you're the second Flat Earther that's come on to this show that's complained about Fight the Flat Earth being quote unquote mean to them. Nathan Thompson had a problem when we were showing all the prison memes that we had of him, in the black man gangbang thing. He didn't really appreciate that either. And I understand that. But is that pretty prevalent in the Flat Earth group? Do you guys just have a problem with accepting, harsh criticism or jokes that are, that might make you feel like you're less of a person, but really they shouldn't because they're a joke? I mean, do you guys all get hurt so easily?
First of all, no, I'm not you guys. I am myself. I speak for myself, and I don't speak for anybody else. And second of all, I just think that Fight the Flat Earth is a fucking idiot. and I'm sick of seeing his face everywhere I go. Now I'm trying to come to a neutral platform, and everywhere I go, there he is. I can't avoid the prick, and he tells me that I'm the one stalking him simply because he's always there. I think he should get a life, and I just don't think he should be a moderator on pretty much any platform. He doesn't deserve that status.
We're going to keep him as a moderator. I don't want to go too much more further with Fight the Flat Earth because he's not here to defend himself on mic, on a microphone. He is in the live chat. I'm sure he appreciated what you said, but before we go further, if you guys want to debate, I'm willing to promote it if it's on Team's channel, Fight the Flat Earth channel, your channel, Flat Earth Aussie. We'll tweet it and put it on Facebook and stuff like that, and even give it a shout out during our streams.
I mean, we can have a debate in the future, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus. The debate topic will be, did you get wrecked tonight? Fight Flat Earth will take the positive, you can take the negative. But you'll get wrecked again.
Yeah, sure, as long as he brings lube, because, you know, I hate going in dry.
And
Mind Onion says this is getting pretty personal. Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, you're not taking anything I'm saying personal, are you? Because I'm not meaning it to be personal. It's just in fun.
What do you mean personal?
Okay, yeah, so you're not personally taking it. Like, you're not feeling like I'm personally attacking you as a person, are you?
Mate, everything floats off me like water off a duck's back. Yeah.
Same with me, man. Have fun. You can say whatever you want about me too, because I have a good time with this and I love what I do. So
I'm pretty assured of, you know, on the 2 feet I stand upon. I know my stuff. I know what I'm talking about. Finally, something in my throat. Things that people say against me do nothing except prove when you point a finger, they're ignoring the 3 pointing back at themselves. So, yeah, good luck to them.
Gotcha. And I would mention, I want to give like a shout out or something that I'm like, hey, I'm open to this as, in fact, I wouldn't say it's just a possibility. It's something that I would say there's truth to this. H2O Water, a friend in the live chat says, but you were supposed to listen to the debate as the moderator, James. Your moderators are supposed to take care of the live chat while the debate is ongoing. That's true. And that's something that I should learn to like kind of let more, like kind of defer more to the moderators. And it's like, I've been a little bit probably maybe over involved in that. So I would concede that that's, you know, something that I have to work on. And then
I actually appreciate the fact that you don't intervene too much and you do let us have a little bit of toe to toe. But
I like that too, James. And, I like that too.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Occasionally, so I can say what I've got to say.
And for the record, the only reason Nathan is a mod, someone said it's because he pays me. He gives $1 a month through Patreon. I've never seen such a cheap patron. Just kidding, Nathan. I'm teasing. But no, I mean, but it is $1 a month. It's not for the money. It's because we really do want to have people from all walks of life be a part of like moderators, you know, Christians, atheists, flat earthers, globers. And like I said, I will consistently apply the rule though. Like if Nathan is being abusive to people in the live chat, I will apply. I'll say, hey, Nathan, we're not going to have you as a mod anymore. And that's what I would do to anybody, Glober, Flat Earth, whatever. So anyway, thanks for your patience on that kind of channel housekeeping stuff. Appreciate it, folks. And we really do hope you feel welcome. I know that, let's see. We've got a lot of questions to get through. Ilya Moon, thanks for your super chat, who gave a face of someone with spirals for eyeballs. I'm sure I am shocked as well. Fohammer335, thanks for your super chat, who said, "Get 'em, Daddy Skeptic," with daddy in caps. You have a fan out there.
Yeah, I like it. I like that daddy in all caps always.
Steven Steen, thanks for your super chat, who said, "Team Skeptic and Flat Earth Aussie are actually secret lovers."
We are.
Something we didn't know. All right, thanks for that.
We're email lovers.
I'm on top.
Okay, no, enough of that. Carrie Oliver, thanks for your super chat, said, "Keep licking those windows,
gross
knuckle dragger." I don't know what that means. Who's licking windows?
Tasty windows.
Okay, thank you. Next up, thanks for your super chat, the Athens619, who said, "I need ranch for this word salad," and he was talking about straw manning. LOL, the irony. I think that might be for you, Flat Earth Aussie.
Yeah, I missed that. What was it? Something about the ironing board?
Let's see. They said, I need ranch for this word salad. And he was talking about straw manning. LOL, the irony.
Yeah, back to the ironing board, bitch.
Gotcha. Thank you. Steven Steen, thanks for your sick super chat. In quotes, says James Kunz is an alpha daddy, quoting Jesse Lee Peterson. That's funny. I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, Steven hired Jesse Lee Peterson to talk about me. It was like that was interesting. Jesse Lee Peterson will be on Monday. It is going to be insane. I am not sure what to expect, but it should be a fun one, I hope. Fight the Flat Earth, thanks for your super chat, who said, to summarize Flat Earth Aussie's arguments, I quote, I don't understand physics. Ross, please explain why we can measure both rotation and curve.
You've never once detected any rotation and you've never once detected any curve. So what the hell are you talking about? Gotcha.
Thanks so much. Appreciate that. And thanks so much for your super chat from Kang024. No. Kang024 said, question for Aussie. Please explain the detections made by LIGO experiment.
The LIGO, well, I think it's described in the very word itself, LIGO, or go lie. We've never detected gravity waves anywhere ever. So come on, get real.
You got it. Thanks for that. Super chat from Kango24. Thanks again. They said, question for Aussie. Given the sun does not change angular size in the sky relative to an observer, please explain sunsets and sunrises.
Your limits of vision are generally limited to, say, about 3 miles either side of where you exist, and the Earth is like, or the path of the sun is about 25,000 miles. So if you even think that you can see half of that, you're doing pretty well. Like, come on, get real. Learn some scale.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. And thanks for your super chat from Monkey Cat Pat. Appreciate it. They said, try all you want, team. Flat Earth Aussie doesn't understand anything. Oh, Flat Earth Aussie, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Gotcha. Very calm. Kango24, thanks for your other super chat. Said, question for Aussie. Please supply proof images of Earth from space are fake. In other words, how do you know that these images of Earth from space are phony?
Because simply there are no images from space. And if you think you've been to space, then you should go back to watching the Muppets as we all did as a kid. Because that's your intelligence level.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for your super chat from Kango24 said, question for Aussie. Again, please explain how an equatorial mount works on a flat Earth.
By a single axis of rotation, tracking something moving in a single axis of rotation, as opposed to dual axes of rotation, which they don't do.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate your super chat from, let's see, Joshua White, who says, Flat Earth Aussie, do you have a physical model that explains star rotation reversal from north of the topics, in parentheses, counterclockwise to south of the topics, in parentheses, clockwise on a flat Earth?
Yes, I do. It's called the Flat Earth, and you can just go out and have a look at it.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat. JL Warren, who says, Flat Earth Aussie, how do you explain that if you plot out the definitively known distances between all major cities on Earth, the plot points form a sphere?
Do they? I've never seen that. I'd like to see it be shown. Thank you.
Super interesting. And thanks for your super chat from Monkey Cat Pat, who says, if the Earth was flat, wouldn't Flat Earth Aussie be able to see the North Star?
No, it's too far away. Don't you understand a single thing about distance and perspective? The further away you get from something, the more it appears to go down. Once you reach the equator from the North Pole, that's the point where Polaris disappears. Now, if you think that you can see beyond a convergence point, then, you must be too high.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat, King024, who says, question for Aussie. Given there are hundreds of amateur weather balloon high altitude flight videos clearly showing Earth's curve using non-fisheye lenses, please explain their existence.
There's not a single one that shows curvature. If they're using a non-fisheye lens, they are proving it is 100% physically flat. If you think you're seeing curvature, all you're really doing is seeing the different nature of light because you're so far away from the sun at that particular height. It's the nature of light you're seeing, given the appearance of curvature, not curvature.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat. Rick's World, who says the sun would have burned up its fuel by now if it were small. Why can't we see a small sun spotlight on the dark side of Earth? My eyes can see stars.
Was that to me?
Yeah, I think so. They said the sun would have burned up its fuel by now if it were small. Why can't we see a small sun spotlight on the dark side of Earth? My eyes can see stars.
Yep. Okay. So the sun isn't fuel. That's the first thing you have to learn. The sun is not fuel. It is an interdimensional portal from another dimension where it allows energy from that dimension to create an apparition of light in our upper atmosphere, which is the hydrogen and helium layer. And that apparition that we see is what we call the sun, but it's not really the sun at all. It's just the apparition in our upper atmosphere, which we cannot go beyond.
Gotcha. Thanks so much. Appreciate your super chat from our dearest friend, Gabriel K., who says pressure equals mass over volume. He said it's mass times volume, small case v, large case v. Maybe that was a typo. Game over, Aussie. Is there an equation, mass times small case v times uppercase v? It must be a typo. I think it's pressure. Pressure is equal to mass over volume, but he said that it's mass times volume. Game over, Aussie. I see what they're saying. Okay. Does that make sense?
I think basically they're just confusing the fact that mass and volume are virtually the same thing. The density of the mass is what changes in the same amount of volume. So yes, when it comes to a gas, you can compress more of it into the same amount of volume, which will increase the density. But in nature, as we see it, density and volume are pretty well straightforward, exactly as we see it.
Gotcha. And thanks for your super chat from the banner of Hamura Ekimi. Says, math him, team. Math them harder. Yes.
Yeah, math.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, go for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I love some math.
Sleepy Dan, thanks for your super chat, who said ice cubes do not change weight when they melt, despite water being more dense than ice. Density does not determine weight. Relative density is BS.
Yeah, well, you can put as much ice cubes as you want into a glass of water, and as they melt, the water doesn't overflow. They're still the same basic density, just that the volume changes as they melt to remain, well, volume.
Super interesting. And thanks for your super chat from Caleb, as he likes to be called. Caleb says, Flat Earth Aussie, best reason for why government would hide flat Earth.
Oh, I wrote that the other day. I wish I'd remembered what I'd written. Basically, because government is made out of the two words govern, to control, meant the mind, mental, you know. So to control the mind, once you've grabbed a grasp of somebody's mind and convinced them of some lie so big, everything else flows pretty easily, and you're pretty easy to control, and you'll do as you're told. You'll be a good little slave, and you'll make money for your owners.
You got it. Thanks for your super chat. Cash22 said we would be able to see both sides of the moon on a flat Earth model.
No, you wouldn't. The moon is always too high. The same reason you never see the top of an aeroplane when it flies from a horizon to horizon, you only ever see the undercarriage. The moon is even higher. You're only ever going to see the bottom side of the moon. There's no way that anywhere on a flat Earth, you would see more than the bottom side of the moon that we always see.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Kengo24, who says, question for Aussie. What kind of cognitive dissonance is required to hold your beliefs and at the same time live in a world that is completely constructed using the physics that you deny?
I beg your pardon, they constructed my world out of physics I deny. No, I observe all the actual physics we can observe, and I just tell them how it is, bloke.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat. Sparky NJ says, Flat Earth Aussie. So are you saying that A times B is the same as A divided by B? So is 20 times 5 the same as 20 divided by 5? I think they're going back to that pressure, volume, mass.
No. No, you have to find the answer in the first place. So, 20 times 5 being 100. And then 20 divided by 5 equals 100. So all you have to do is then 100 divided by 5 equals 20. You still got the same units, whatever, but yeah, it does go into those.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat. Fight the Flat Earth, who said, question for Team Skeptic, can you whistle?
Answer for Fight the Flat Earth, fuck off. He knows I can't whistle.
Not when I'm choking him.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jessica G, thanks for your super chat. Said, question for Gandalf the Grey on the left. Is Australia real? Question for Team Skeptic. Can you whistle the na na hey hey goodbye song for the win?
I'll let him answer it first, and then I'll do the na na hey goodbye song.
No, nothing is real. Everything is just an illusion of your mind. It's all the construct of your senses.
Gotcha. Yeah, moving forward. Okay, thanks for your super chat from Fight the Flat Earth. Said, question for Santa. Flat Earth Santa, what's the equation for resistance?
It depends how hard I punch you in the face and how much resistance you have in the teeth.
Oh my goodness! Oh, it was like it's getting...
It varies. Some people's teeth have more resistance than others.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Caleb, thanks for your super chat. Who said, Aussie, have you ever battled a kangaroo?
No. Oh well, as a kid, yeah. Once I got whacked really hard across the legs by a tail of one that my dad had shot. I thought it was dead. It wasn't. It nearly knocked me off my feet.
Whoa. That I did not know. Gabriel K, thanks for your super chat, who said, team, why do you speak like Reds? Find your way. Peace.
Yeah, since I've been on the internet, or since I've been on YouTube, I have been constantly
sucking the dick of Reds.
No, I've been constantly misconstrued as Reds. Like people were saying, like, "Hey, it's this Reds other channel." And the funny thing is that my PlayStation name was Red Eye District. So when I first started my channel and people were like, "Hey, Reds, is this you?" I was like, "Yeah, that's crazy. Like, how'd y'all find me? I haven't told anybody about this." But yes, I've had many people. I think it's great, man. Reds has a fucking sexy ass voice. So if I sound like him, then fucking I'm doing something right.
True. Next up, thanks. Christopher Hogan, thanks for your super chat, who said, for Flat Earth Aussie, how do you think how is the ice wall? I'll read it just as it is. I'm making sense of it. Quote, how thick is the ice wall and how thick is the ice wall and why can't I see it from my local beach?
It's only about 7 centimeters, and because it's just over the horizon.
Okay, thank you for that. And thanks for your super chat. I'm sorry, Wilson, who says, does level equal flat?
Absolutely. If you look up the dictionary definition of level or flat, both of them contain the same thing. Flat and level are synonymous with one another. And just because something is level doesn't necessarily mean, just because something is flat doesn't automatically mean it's level. But if you use water or any sort of liquid surface to make level,
I'm sorry, you opened up with saying that level is flat, and then you
Yes.
just said just because it's level does not mean it's flat.
I said just
That's
because
contradicting.
it's flat doesn't mean it's level.
Or yeah,
Not
flat doesn't mean
necessarily.
it's level, right?
Not
So it's
necessarily.
contradicting.
No. You can't have level without being flat.
Sure you can.
Well, you can, because there's like about 12 or 14 different dictionary definitions of the word level. Like you can be on a level of a game or a level of a building. But in general, the general term of flat and level together mean flat and level, just like the ocean.
For something to be flat and level, it must be flat and perpendicular to the pull of gravity. That's flat and level.
Well, yeah, exactly. At
Okay.
all points. There's nowhere where it suddenly starts going sideways.
Okay. Well, and that, but yeah, but
It
if you
doesn't
take
form the curvature. You just
Sean,
said it.
oh yeah, it does. Yes, it
It's
does, and that's
perpendicular to the flat.
that is a dictionary
Level, not the
actual.
curve and level.
Yeah, that's the
level.
dictionary description of what level is it's conforming to the surface of the curved Earth.
No.
So everything
level.
at sea level is at the same distance from the center of the Earth.
If you believe in imaginary pulling forces of such
Sure.
ridiculous things, but
yeah, the ones you mean the ones that
we
dictate
actually
our lives?
look at
Hell
the
yeah, I believe in them.
observable nature and the natural physics of the world we live upon. Flat and level means flat and level, not curved and level.
No, flat and level means flat and perpendicular to the pull of gravity. That's what flat and level
mate,
means.
You're pulling it too hard, mate.
Okay.
You got to
Next
leave
up,
it alone.
Sigifredo Sarabia, thanks for your super chat, who said, Skeptic, you said down is inward toward the center of the Earth. If so, what force would be acting on three boxes 1 foot apart in free fall? Would they have to come closer together if there's an inward force by a core?
Well, if I understand it right, yes, they would come together. They would come together, I believe, not only by their attractive force, which is real slight, but because the plumbs that they would be falling along would bring them together as they approach the center of the Earth.
Very convenient, isn't it? Because the plumb that's like 500 miles away would be going a much different angle. But anyway.
Yeah, I know, right. So if you drew, let's say you took two objects and you put them on those two plumbs at the distance of the moon. And as you brought them together, if you followed the line that they had from the distance from the moon to the center of the Earth, they would get closer to each other at every point along their path. They would constantly be getting closer together.
So you're saying that light isn't parallel now?
But no, I didn't say that. What do you mean
You
light isn't parallel? That doesn't make any
light
sense.
From the moon would be doing the same thing as a physical line from the moon. Let's use the sun. Let's say it's two physical lines from the sun. Isn't light traveling in a linear fashion? And now all of a sudden you're saying they're converging towards the
well, okay, so when you look up and you see the sun, do you see the sun as 3 million miles big, like right up on your face, or do you see it as a half a degree in the sky?
I see it as pretty much the same size as the moon.
Yeah, it's about half a degree in the sky, right? Okay, but the truth of the matter is that sun is much wider than the Earth. So those lines are converging down on you. And even when you look, if you're looking at the very middle of the sun, then you're having to look at a slight angle from the middle of the sun to see the outside of the sun. In fact, 0.25 degrees or 0.26 degrees, you're going to have to look from the center of the sun to the outside of the sun. So the parallel rays that are parallel in all directions, or not parallel, the rays that diverge from the point source from every spot on the sun, one of those rays comes to your eyes, and it's all those rays are converging as they come to your eye.
But I say the entire sun all at once. Why is that?
That's why you see the entire sun all at once.
So all the rays are converging to my eyes, or all the rays are not converging to my eyes?
No, all the rays are going in all the directions, right? Because light from a point source, hold on. Yes, when you turn on a light bulb, hold on. When you turn on a light bulb, be quiet for a second so you can let me finish. When you turn on a light, does the light shine in one direction or does it go in all directions?
Obviously in all the directions.
Okay, same thing goes for the sun. From every point on the sun,
hold on.
I do have to give Team the last word on this one because the super chat was for him.
Yeah, from every point on the sun, the light goes in all directions, even back into the sun. Okay, that's just how it works. It goes in 360 degrees in a sphere heading outward. All right. Now you on Earth, when you look up and you see the sun and you see the whole sun, you're seeing a ray of light from every point on that sun converging down to your eye. Now, when you take one step over to the left of where you're at now, you can still see the sun, right? Well, that's because there's rays coming in that are converging to that point also. And if you get further away from the sun, they get smaller. Why? Because those rays converge closer and closer together to your eye.
Gotcha. Next up, thanks so much for your super chat. Appreciate it. From Taryn Martian, appreciate it. Asked for Flat Earth Aussie, how do density and buoyancy alone explain how pressure is measurably greater at the bottom of a swimming pool compared to at the top of a swimming pool?
Oh, that's a very easy one, because when you've got more of something, like more water pressing down on you, then less water pressing down on you, then you've got more pressure pushing down on you. That's pretty bloody.
You still haven't explained why it pushes down on you, though. It's all the same density.
Yeah, because it has more mass. The more mass of the water itself.
But what's making it press down on you?
Once you go down 2 waters, once you go down 3 waters, 4 waters, 5 waters.
No, I understand the concept of pressure.
There's more pressure.
Yeah, I understand the concept of
Because
pressure, but what you're failing to explain, and I guess what they're asking is why? Why does the mass on top of the water get pulled down? You're already telling us that it's density versus buoyancy. Well, water is fairly incompressible, right? So the water, the density of the water at the bottom of the pool is the same as the density of the water at the top of the pool.
Yeah, so, but there's more of it.
But I understand that, but why is it?
Okay, size matters. I know it doesn't matter to you, but size and amount actually does matter.
No, but why? Gravity is the reason why, but you would need to explain why it's not.
We've got to give him once he responds, we've got to move forward, and then just because the question was challenging him. So go ahead. The why was what.
There's more of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks so much. And then let's see. So sorry to kind of cruise through these. I know that a lot of these are deep, and so you go longer. But I'm sorry, Wilson. Thanks for your super chat. Who said, "Why can't I see Mount Everest from Ohio? Flat, right?"
There's a thing called distance diminution, where everything in the distance appears to get smaller. You might be able to see a boat, pardon me, 5 miles away. If you zoom in on it, pardon me, something in my throat again. You've also got this thing called convergence point. And the convergence point is a cutoff point. So if something is further than that point, you're only going to see what can appear to be above that. So once you've reached your convergence point, generally 3 to 5 miles away, anything that's above that, you might be able to see it. The only way you can change that is by getting higher in elevation to see further. It's very simple.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat. Sigifredo Sarabia says, Skeptic, if on a car, what's the explanation of why a suspended balloon does not hit the back of a car if you consider the rotation of the Earth using force equals mass times acceleration? You might be on mute.
Oh, was that for me?
They said.
I'm sorry. I thought the question was for him. You can go ahead and repeat it. I'll answer it.
Yeah, they said if on a car, I'm not sure if they mean on or in the car. What's the explanation of why a suspended balloon does not hit the back of a car if you consider the rotation of the Earth using force equals mass times acceleration?
I don't know. I know the answer to that, and I can answer it. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if that was meant for me or him.
I would say good luck.
First off, let me ask you a question, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus. Do you understand why a helium balloon does what it does in a car when you accelerate it? First off, do you know what happens?
It's less dense than the air.
What happens to the balloon in the car?
It goes forwards.
It goes forwards, right?
Okay, because you have an acceleration in
Because
one
it's less
direction.
dense than the air. So
Okay, but hold on. Everything on the inside of the car is accelerating at that point, right? You agree with that, right? Okay, the air, the balloon, the frame of the car, everything. So as it accelerates, as it accelerates, it gives a fictitious acceleration force in the exact opposite direction at the speed that you're accelerating, right? At the rate that you're accelerating. So when it does that, when it does that, it gives a vector of acceleration that must be taken into account along with the vector of acceleration of downward towards the Earth. So let's say if there was no downward acceleration to the Earth, then the balloon would just go straight forward to the front of the car. It wouldn't have any kind of degree to it, you know? Like if you look at a balloon, if you hang the balloon from the bottom and you accelerate, the balloon will lean more and more forward the faster you accelerate. That's because you're adding more and more of an acceleration vector on the frame of reference and to the atmosphere on the inside, causing it to turn the vector to turn more and more towards the back of the car, forcing the balloon further and further forward. So that's why it happens, and it's the same thing. This is the exact same reason why a balloon floats straight up when you put it in a car. Why? Because we have an acceleration vector pulling everything down.
Gotcha. Let's see. I want to give Team the last word on that one just because it was a challenge to him. Feel good? Okay. Sphere itself, thanks for your super chat, says, really, James, again with the sexy? Come on. Making me blush. I think that, as I mentioned, is actually 65-year-old Earl, the postman from Alabama, but I appreciate that, Earl. I'm sorry, Wilson, thanks for your super chat. Says, Earth is shaped like James's sexy haircut. Come on, what is with you guys? Stagnu de Morte, thanks for your super chat, said, if there is a resistance force, what does force resist?
Mass.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from dearest friend Los V. Said, easy win, Team Skeptic. You got a fan out there, team.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Easy win. Easy. Hashtag easy.
Yeah, we never got past your amoebas.
Gotcha. Sphere itself, thanks for your super chat. Who said, no, I'm not Steven Steen or a 62-year-old garbage man. I guess that's good. Okay, Mouth Breather, thanks for your super chat. We already addressed this, but fair to read it. I'll take the heat. Said, how is Nathan a moderator when all he does is insult the opposition? Promise, folks, I will keep consistent with that rule. If he is being abusive or harassing, I will unmod him. Rangerman 9404, thanks for your super chat, who said, I don't know what's lower, Flat Earth Aussie's mic volume or his IQ.
Well, it's bloody hard when you're upside down trying to cling onto a spinning ball. Come on.
Gotcha. Oh, what a charmer. Thanks for your super chat from Sparky, New Jersey. I think that's what the NJ stands for. Correct me if I'm wrong. That said, if like attracts like, human biology is alike. Why haven't we all combined by now? Which one of you said like attracts like?
I think we tend to be attracted towards one another according to our species, you know, like, yeah, I've seen some pretty attractive horses in my day, but I've kept my distance. I've done the right thing. I think in some places they like goats, but yeah, we tend to stay according to our own kind.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from the Athens 619, who said it's hard to pick between JM Truth, who was on last night, and Flat Earth Aussie for the Dunning-Kruger Award. Flat Earth Aussie doesn't care. He's not even responding.
Yeah. I'll give it to JM Truth. It's all good.
JM Truth, do I understand right, team, that he's one of your buddies? You guys are pals, you hang out and stuff?
I'm trying to save him from any more stupidity there's no saving that guy though. I've kind of given up. My 2020 New Year's resolution was to convert JM Truth from the flat earth. I didn't need him to stop believing in God. I didn't even tell him that he needed to believe that the earth was a globe. I just need him to realize how stupid it is to be a flat earther. But he's stuck on stupid, and there's not much you can do about anybody that's stuck on stupid as bad as him. But we're talking about something like gecko strength stupid stuck on him. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't peel that stupid off of him, not with a metal spatula and some fucking industrial bleach. It's just too burnt into his personnel.
JL Warren, thanks for your super chat. I was throwing my poop at some people earlier, so I've got to take the heat back. Said, I'd like to know why those of us who object to Nathan Thompson being a mod and seeing his behavior supported by MDD are being told to unsubscribe. To be fair, I only told the people who were saying that he's a predator to unsubscribe. So I agree. Trying to spread the flat earth position to young kids during a school day or probably any time, I would not condone. I don't think it's a good idea, but to say he's a predator is like, that as connotations of things that like we have no reason to say that. That's a pretty serious thing. So that's why I was telling some people like 0.001% to unsub.
Well, let me ask you a question. And this is, I'm not trying to rag on Nathan. I'm really just trying. Would you consider somebody who financially like sought out to attack old people? Would you consider that a predacious behavior?
I think
it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual in reference. And I'm not saying that he is that type. I definitely am not trying to say that he's a child predator. That's, to me, I agree with you. That's wrong, but there is predacious behavior there. And I can feel what the people in the chat are saying, but I also understand you got a channel that you got to run, and it's your channel. You should do what you want, man. Like that's the way it is.
Would concede there are different types of predatory behavior for sure. Some sexual, some non-sexual, like an example being fiscal kind of predatory behaviors. I don't know everything Nathan does in his life. If you have, if there's something like that, I'd obviously be concerned.
I'm not going to bad talk the guy because it's not he does enough for himself. I don't have to do anything to help that out.
But this is news to me. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, Nathan, I hope if you're in the live chat right now that you have been not harassing people, because that is something that. But I do also. I'm going to throw another challenge out there to the people who were saying, "Hey, Nathan is, he called Team an idiot," and I myself told him not to do that. But like, are you also holding other mods accountable who might be using that kind of language? And Bella Charge, thanks for your super chat, said, Flat Earth Aussie, why does rain come down in drops and not one bit of water? Under that logic, it would, sorry, I butchered this one. Said, okay, starting over, Flat Earth Aussie, why does rain come down in drops and not one bit of water or chunk of water? Under your logic, it should just be one giant drop of water or a huge chunk of water. Talk about the ultimate power move. Flat Earth Aussie just walked out on us. We'll ask him when he comes back. Tim Pryor, thanks for your super chat, says, sorry, but having Nathan Thompson as a moderator is as pointless as Betty White getting a boob job. LOL. I didn't know that she did. That's good to know. I'll really afraid to Google that. Sigifredo Sarabia, thanks for your super chat. Let's see. I'm trying to understand this, and I'm also trying to understand if it's like fitting within what would be suitable. Let's go to the next one. Thanks for your super chat from, let's see, Tioga, who says, James, quote, beta daddy. Appreciate the love. Thanks for your super chat.
Beta.
Was that you, Flat Earth Aussie?
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
I was doing a Jesse Lee Peterson. I was like, beta.
Oh, I get it. Okay. I was like, Flat Earth Aussie. Okay, Flat Earth Aussie, you had a question before you did that power move and walked on us. Yeah, Tim Pryor.
I really had to go and have a pee.
Let's see. Christopher Nabella Charge said, why does rain come down in drops and not just one giant chunk, or glob of water? By your logic, it seems that rain should just come down as one huge glob of water.
Oh, that's a really good question. And I've often wondered the same thing myself. And I guess it's probably got something to do with temperature and humidity and the nature of water itself. And even though it appears to come down as drops, by the time it hits the ground, we can see it's seriously flat. So, yeah, I'd like to know that too. Why doesn't it?
Gotcha. Thanks so much. And
I think would be your answer.
appreciate your super chat from Christopher Hugan, who says, question for Team Skeptic, what happened to fight the flat earth debate yesterday?
I don't think Fight could. Well, I think that was going to be on the plot hole, but I don't think that Fight could connect for whatever reason. So it ended up being just JL Warren and a COVID-19 denier.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Dim Sum Nimsum, who says, team, calm down. I need to adjust when you talk.
Oh, yeah, but James, you've seen me in person now, and I've had a few debates. You could tell them, man. I get like I'm active, man. I like getting up and jumping around. So I apologize if I was raising my voice. I think that came in during that time when I was finishing up and Flat Earth Aussie Jesus said something. I was like, hey, shut the fuck up. So I think that's when that happened. I'm sorry for raising my voice. Like I said, I was really just trying to mock him for telling me to shut up all those times, but it did come off a little bit loud and angrily, and that's not
you did try to speak over me quite a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm right, so.
Next up, we can't go too. Let's see. Right. And Team's right. If you've seen him in that in-person debate in Dallas with Nathan Thompson, tonight is what we would call sedated Team Skeptic. I mean, it's pretty calm and compared to how crazy.
I'm trying to be better, James. I'm trying to be able to get more of my point across. I think sometimes my points get lost because I get overworked to be in that confrontational. Like, I love confrontation. Like, I'm one of those people that I don't mind it. You know what I'm saying? Having very intense conversations with people that I've never met before, and just being very strong-willed in your beliefs and whatnot. So I enjoy the confrontation.
It would be worthwhile, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And you're just speaking absolute crap most of the time.
Well,
beliefs in mathematical formulas without any grasp.
No, they give us predictive powers. If they didn't give us predictive powers, I would lose my confidence in them immediately.
Predictive powers, no. Just
hold on. I don't want to go too far. Let's see. I agree, though. I appreciate your guys' passion. I also appreciate one thing about both of you guys that you do really well is I like when I think it's like this like triumph of human growth or development when you can disagree with someone really strongly. Be like, no, I totally think you're wrong, and I'll just say it out loud. But then afterwards, you're more than tolerant. You're kind of like, yeah, we don't have to have bad blood over it. Like, we're not going to hold a grudge. We disagree.
Oh no, I have fun.
We're cool.
This is fun. Absolutely. Why not have fun doing it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I wasted my time tonight, so that's good.
I think a lot of
you want to sit at the bar and have a drink with somebody as opposed to sit around the campfire and eat their flesh,
Right. Progress. And I think it's kind of like, I just think it's an awesome thing where we are to that point where we're not like, oh, we disagreed. Now we've got this like bad blood between us. We've got this like, we're going to like cold shoulder each other. It's like, but instead we can just like, water under the bridge. So thanks for your super chat. Dimsum Nimsum, who says, oh, we read that one. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who said Nathan Thompson does not have the character to mod. Well, we will check out what he's been saying, and I will also learn more about other
stuff. If I may speak as a flat earther in defense of Nathan Thompson, I agree with that person. I think Nathan Thompson is not a very good mod at all. I've been banned from his flat earth group that many times simply because I've said some rude word like, you dickhead or something. And yeah, I personally think Nathan Thompson does not represent the flat earth the way I would like to see flat earth represented. But, it takes all kinds, and good luck to him for doing what he does.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that. And Hugh Jars.
The look on your face.
I am shocked. I'm sure. I'm kind of wondering like what Nathan is saying right now. I can just imagine him like listening to this on his phone, like looking at his phone and be like, what the heck, man? Okay. So Hugh Jars, thanks for your super chat, who said, what drugs is Ross on? And can I have some, please?
Yeah, sure, mate. Just drop around. You know, I've got all the drugs. Just
Thanks for that.
You like.
And Tim Pryor, thanks for your super chat, said Nathan Thompson harassing kids, but that's okay. But in the chat, that's okay. Well, it's true. We said that even if he's trying to spread his flat earth message, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I appreciate your feedback. I know that sometimes I would say this one, this super chat doesn't bother me. Like I said, it's only like the ones where it's like, you know what I mean? Fight the Flat Earth. Thanks for your super chat. Who said Flat Earth Aussie did get wrecked?
Did I?
Well, Fight
didn't
the
even
Flat
touch
Earth.
the sides, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks for your super chat. G's Mundo says Fight the Flat Earth is not a mod. He's a very naughty boy. Okay, so next up, thanks for your super chat. Loken16. Loken16 says Flat Earth Aussie is too chill. LOL. Start yelling. You're very easygoing. You are actually very easygoing. I have to, in both of these debates, you've been like pretty chill. Like I know that.
I just don't believe in raising my voice. When somebody's raising their voice at me, it's just that themselves projecting a very angry side of themselves. And so I'm just like, you know, I'm the chill dude. I will take anything that you can throw at me, and I will show how when you throw anything at me, like pointing a finger, the three fingers are pointing back at yourself. I've got nothing to get angry about.
Gotcha. You got it, dude. And thanks for your super chat. Daniel Baker, who says, Flat Earth Aussie, how do you explain 15-degree pH drift shown on gyroscopes? I feel like I had to have said that wrong. This is only possible on a globe. How can you explain if the Earth is flat? Citation, please.
Well, it's like anything that these people claim. They always claim it's only possible on a globe, but they haven't then done the background work then to say, how is it possible on a flat Earth? And if you do it on a flat Earth, you would realize it's because the Earth itself is stationary. The 15-degree per hour rotation of things that you're detecting moving above you, and it's not the Earth itself moving. If it was the Earth itself moving, then that 15 degrees would differ as per protractor from a single point and be much bigger towards the horizon.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Fight the Flat Earth said, Ross, did I hurt your feelings? Big cry, baby. Ha ha.
No, Craigie, you never hurt my feelings, mate.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Laugh at you.
Thanks for your super chat. Stupid whore energy strikes again. She says, James hit my bottom for abusing Christians. It was glorious. I thought it was just one that you were abusing. I didn't know it was multiple, but glad that let's see. Macabre Malefica, thanks for your super chat, said, can we at least replace Nathan with a better flat earth, like Ranty or Flat Earth Aussie? They've never harassed anyone on video. Well, it's something that I will consider. I'm open. Like I said, I appreciate you asking so nicely. That makes me so much more responsive. Can you believe, like, sometimes I'm not joking. Sometimes I get an email because I tell someone, I'm like, sorry, I don't know if that topic is going to fit with what we usually like have. And, they'll get mad and they'll start their email. Well, hey, coward, why don't you do this? And I'm like, why would I work with you if you start by calling me a coward? Okay, thanks for your super chat. Fight the Flat Earth, who says, Flat Earth Aussie, mctoon.net/r, measurements of curve. Gotcha. John Rapp.
He's got lovely buttons, yeah.
Gotcha. John Rapp, thanks for your super chat, who said, never measured rotation, fiber optic gyroscopes. Gyroscopes. Oh, you've embarrassed me.
Well, it could be femoscopes, I guess. No. Fiber optic gyroscopes, I'll leave that to the experts. It's not my field of expertise, and I have a feeling that most of the people who are talking about them have no idea what they're talking about.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from dearest friend, Stupid Horror Energy, who says, how does Aussie explain that I saw anti-crepuscular rays from my airplane window for hours as I flew from New York to Peru, showing the sun is big and far away?
Anti-crepuscular? That's like saying train tracks as they go away from you. Crepuscular. Anti-crepuscular is showing the opposite. It's probably actually showing that the sun is far away, but what you're seeing, the sun rays coming through, being the cloud layer, is quite near.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Stupid or Energy Striking Again, says, what weighs more, 200 pounds of feathers or 200 pounds of bricks?
Oh, 200 pounds of empty head, for sure.
Oh, very sassy. Point and Laugh, thanks for your super chat, who says, why is the moon upside down in the southern hemisphere? Flat Earth Aussie Jesus.
Because you're looking at it from the different direction.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Martinista, says, flat earthers, quote, level, unquote, is the young earth creationist, quote, kind, unquote. Caleb, thanks for your super chat. Appreciate it. Said, with that, in all caps, are you making fun of me? Are you copying me? They said, thank you for being here, folks. Keep sifting the eagles from the weasels. Appreciate that. Very good parody. Thanks for your super chat, Cash22, who said, please explain your theory on the sun being an interdimensional portal.
Yeah, because energy has to come from somewhere. And what we're seeing when it comes to the sun is that the sun itself is not expending energy. We only see the energy once it reaches that certain part of our atmosphere. So if this energy is coming from somewhere else, it must be from another dimension, which is pretty much what I say all light is coming from. It's a energy from an endless source. It's hard to explain exactly, but it is coming from something that does not just burn out as we would think, say a campfire would. The sun itself is the apparition that we see in our atmosphere thanks to the fact that there is an interdimensional portal that is constantly delivering energy towards the earth to give life, as we said.
Gotcha. Thanks for your super chat from Nuga, who says, can we get Flat Earth Aussie to say, quote, I am the Knight Rider?
No.
Gotcha. Thanks for that. Brian Stevens, thanks for your Patreon question, says, why does my drop of orange juice join my drop of mercury? Are they both, quote, like, unquote?
I would think that actually the mercury would repel your drop of orange juice, and I doubt that they would combine at all.
Gotcha. Thanks so much for that. And I think that is all we have. So I want to say thanks so much, folks. It's been a wild night. We really do appreciate you. If we had a run-in, including with me and you in the chat, I think that, like I said, it's only like 2 people. But do want to say no hard feelings. I sincerely do hope you're well. And it's good that we do have people disagreeing here. So that's one thing. It's true. I might be a little bit, sometimes I might throw a little heat at you. But one thing is, if I ever block you because you criticize me, I hope you guys call me out and you say, James, come on. Because I think that's fair. I hope you guys are able to criticize me and at least not be blocked. You might get some pushback, but hopefully, hopefully I'll start, hopefully I'll be open in my mind. Jackalope heard.
James, mate, you deliver one of the best forums. You don't jump in and express your own opinions in between a debate. Unlike nearly every other forum I've ever debated Flat Earth on, I think you do a really good job of allowing 2 people to discuss something one against one. So kudos to you, mate, and thank you.
Thank you. That really does mean a lot. I seriously feel encouraged. Appreciate that. And Jackalope Herdmaster sent in the final super chat saying, wrench for Team Skeptic. Do we really not have you with a wrench?
Oh, it's all right, James. I lost my wrench when my channel got hacked. They had to create I had to create a second channel, and then they transferred my old channel to the new channel. So yes, no, I'm not modded on here, but I don't ever expect anybody to mod me just because.
Gotcha. Well, you are modded.
Just because I'm a mega superstar, you don't have to, you know.
I honestly am happy to. I can't believe what happened. Did somebody hack your account? I heard Cirrus had his account hacked. Cirrus the Skeptic.
You know, the thing is I am super careful with what I open, what I install on my computer, and I don't know how I got hacked. I honestly think YouTube had a glitch in their system because they deleted a lot of my videos that they said were uploaded by the hacker, and they have proof of it. And I was like, no, those videos were mine. I'm the one who uploaded them before when I lost my channel. But they did nothing malicious. If it was a hacker, all they did was disassociate my channel from my email address. That's it. So I don't know. I saw Cirrus's post, and I saw that he also made the comment that all of his videos from a certain point were removed. I haven't talked to him to see if it was the same thing that happened to me, but YouTube told me that I was hacked. That comes from YouTube, even though I don't completely believe it. YouTube told me that.
Wow.
It's unfortunate.
Yikes. Sorry to hear that. Maybe because you've been going on those websites you shouldn't be going on. All right, just teasing. I want to say really appreciate these guys. And like I said, I have linked them in the description, folks. So if you were listening and you're like, I like that, I want to hear more, you can hear more because I put those links right there for you. They're waiting for you. Just a little click away and you can hear plenty more. So thanks for these guys. We really do appreciate these guys being with us, and thanks so much for being here with us listening, folks. We hope you have a great night. Hopefully our producer is still awake. He might be gone. I don't know. Praise.
James.
Thank you for that praise. Go ahead, Flat Earth Aussie.
Yeah, I was just going to say I do appreciate it, and thanks very much for giving the opportunity to chat with Team Skeptic once again. It hasn't happened too often. We did it once before when, of course, was the moderator, and so I sort of ganged up against. So it felt nice to be able to chat one-on-one without having any bias against me one way or another. So I appreciate it.
We appreciate both of you guys. You guys have been kind to the channel. We appreciate you guys hanging with us. And so with that, folks, given that it sounds like our moderator is back, he's got his new toy, his voice modulator. Can I
make one announcement before you close it out?
You bet.
Okay, I believe I'm going to do a quick after show after this. Anybody that would like to attend it can, find it on my channel, and I'll bring a few people on. What's that?
Can I come?
Sure. Well, I wouldn't keep you from coming. So I will.
I know that, but
I would not keep you from joining our panel on the show. Does Fight the Flat Earth have your email address so I can just send him a link for you to join?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send the link to him and he can. All right. Well, okay. Well, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I'll be having an after show on my channel as well.
You bet. And conveniently, folks, the link to that channel where the after show will be right in the description already. So you can click on over there. And so, I will encourage you. Maybe you never know. There might be an appearance by Flat Earth Aussie. Might be crazy. So feel free to click that link down below and go party at the after show. So thanks so much, guys. And Praise, thanks so much for your help as our producer tonight. Folks, keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Take care.